What up? What up? What up? Hey, y'all. How y'all doing? I've missed you. Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad to see everybody, and I'm so glad you guys are patient with me. And when I decided I needed a little break, you guys let me have a little break. You didn't give me a rash of shit. And here you are. So good to see everybody. My fam is back. Look, y'all, I needed, first of all, let me just say this. Let me start here. So, after we did some of the trial stuff, whenever I was on last or whatever, then the next stuff was like video depositions. And the truth is, I can't do the video depositions. They bore me out of my skull because it's like it's already I don't know. I suppose if I think about it, if I really break it down, it's not any different than rewatching a trial because it's not actually happening live or whatever, but something about those dadgum video depositions just, man, they just bore me to tears. And cause chick, I missed you guys, but I did. I needed a little bit of a break. And then I decided while I was on my break that I was going to go on some sort of goodwill ambassador tour and try to like get everybody to chill out and maybe stop some of the drama, like how, because had gotten just to me like epic, crazy, ridiculous levels. Like there's drama, then there is going full scorched earth drama, and then there's what was happening, which was hold my hoops, I'm fixing to end some bloodlines drama. And I just don't feel like it wasn't coming from me. Y'all know I don't be doing all that stuff, but I tried to rationalize. And I think for the most part, there were a significant amount of people that heard my message. And then there are the people who were like, yeah, I heard you. And guess what? I don't care, which is fine, but I just, I was just hopeful. So tonight, I tried Sugar Beach. You saw me in those streets, man. I never address drama. Never. And I don't know what happened. I felt like I had seen it escalating and escalating to a point where I thought, this is not good for anybody. And this is, somebody is, gonna end up in a bad way. So I was like, let me try. But I tried, and people are going to do what they're going to do. And I'm not even judging them for it because guess what? I'm people and I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And that's how it is. And I'm just going to, do me for a while and be over here. And I might pop in to, chats, here and there. But on the whole, I think I'm just going to go back to the way I've always been, which is, you know, me over here and staying over here. So, Amber Heard got up on the stand today, and Country Joe and I had talked about whenever she did testify, us doing the commentary together, which I think is still the plan. I just don't see Country Joe in chat. But whenever she gets here, I'll absolutely drop the link for her because I know she has been we've all been looking forward to this. This is the part we were looking forward to. And this is, okay, let me tell you what else happened. So I did watch a tiny bit of her testimony today. Then I got the guilts because I was like, no, I want to be I want to watch it with my fam, and I want to watch watch it with you guys and react to it with you guys. And so I was like, I'm turning it off. Plus, low key, she's getting on my nerves. And I didn't want to like I wanted to be funny and not mean. So, yeah. All right, so here we go. Wonder why they have it listed as part 1. Okay. Well, let me put this on and make sure that it's where we want it to be, because I'm not trying to hear about anybody else. Oh, it's perfect. Hey, and guess what? Hey, I want to say hi to all of you guys, but I started late. I'm just so happy to see all of you. I'm just so glad you guys are all here, and I really, really, I just appreciate you guys being here. I really do. Coming back and, hey, Alex, Erickson, Molson Man, Copacabana, Kez Chick, Curious Rose, Sugar Bait, Amelia Sparkles, Tony, Christine, Jim Jivin Whale, Aussie Girl Jen. Who else I got in here? I don't want to miss anybody. Mark Klein, good to see you. Did I say hi to you, Christine? Hi. I think I got Shalima. Okay. Is it Shalima or Shalima? Hi. I hope I didn't say your name wrong. I'm so sorry. Hey, Anaphylaxis. Jody is cool. Jody is cool. I think I got you all. Yes, yes. Looks like it. I think so. I feel like I have. Okay. If I didn't say hi to you, it was not intentional. Hey, DTC Prime Time. All right. So sometimes you just got to, like, that's what happened, Alex, is I had it got to be too much and your girl snapped. Hey, Jeanette Poopko. Hey, Dan Cave. I've missed a ton of people. I'm so sorry. I'm just, like, it's not like I've been away from being on the tubes for like a month or something like that, but I guess I get rusty. I don't know what's my problem is, but it's never intentional. You guys know I'm always so glad to see everybody. I just snapped, but I didn't even like snap in an entertaining way. I just got up and started talking sense. I don't even know how to snap right. No, that's not true. I actually do know how to snap. Nobody wants to see Jen snap. Okay. So I'm going to rewind it all the way to the beginning because they didn't call out her full government name. All right. So, oh, cripes. Jen, you have to add it to the stream. My God. See? Already. All right. Here we go.
Amber Laura.
Hold on. It didn't go all the way.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Be seated.
I just want y'all to hear her name.
Laura, we'd like to call Laura Amber Heard to the stand. All right. Amber Laura. I do.
Let me make sure the volume is okay. Yeah, it's up all the way. Now, the only other thing I want to know is, y'all think we should keep her at the normal speed or YOLO?
All right.
1.25. What do y'all think?
Will you please state your name?
Yes.
What do y'all think? Yes, yes to what? Christine, yes, speed her up or YOLO it. We ain't never finding that yellow cup, Kez. Check that yellow cup is dust in the wind at this point. Just dust in the wind. You guys want it normal? All right, I'm going to keep it normal. And we'll see, I've got 1.25, couple of one, Christine over here at 100. Let's start out normal. And if it gets too like tedious where we're just like speed her up, we'll speed her up. Okay. Here we go.
It's Amber Laura Heard.
And what is your address?
I live in Yucca Valley, California.
And how old are you, Amber?
I am 36. I just celebrated.
Oh, old enough to know
And do
better
you
and
have
not
a
be acting a
daughter?
fool. Okay.
I do. She also celebrated her birthday recently. She's 1.
Okay. And what is your profession?
Hey, Gen
I
X,
am
what
an
up?
actor.
Thanks for coming in.
Mostly.
Okay. Now, why are you here?
Because I'm a horrible liar.
I am here because my ex-husband is suing me for an op-ed I wrote.
And how do you feel about that?
I feel like the universe is taking care of things the way it should.
I struggle to have the words. I struggle to find the words to describe how painful this is. This is horrible for me to sit here for weeks and relive everything. Hear people that I knew, some well, some not. My ex-husband, with whom I shared a life, speak about our lives in the way that they have. This has
mean
been
the truth?
This is the most painful and difficult thing I've ever gone through, for sure.
We're all in pain, Amber,
Now,
because we don't like
there
you
was
or
a
believe you. Okay,
trial
sorry.
in the UK in July of 2020 where Mr. Depp had sued the Sun newspaper and Dan Wooten. Do you recall that?
No.
Yes.
And what was your level of participation in that lawsuit, in that trial?
Well, I was not party to that lawsuit. I was a witness. I suppose the primary witness, since it dealt with the truth of the relationship that I shared with Johnny.
Girl, bye, you ain't told the truth yet.
And what, if any, role did you have to play with respect to, for example, witness statements and testifying?
Objection, compound.
Correct.
I said, for example.
Overruled.
I had to write, I think I gave 7 witness statements under oath testimony. I sat on the stand for 4 days under mostly cross-examination. And up
4
until this
days
point,
of
it was the
testimony?
hardest thing I'd ever had to do.
Thank you, Amber. I'm going to take you back, and if you can just tell the jury a little bit about your background. Tell us where you grew up.
I come from Austin, Texas, a small town outside of Austin that you probably haven't heard of. No one has.
Tell me, I'm
It's
from
called Maynard.
Texas.
And I was
Wait,
raised by
hold on. Let me
my mother,
rewind
my
it since I
father,
was rude.
And I grew up with a little sister
Did she
Hold
say the name?
It says there between the two of you.
in Texas, a small town outside of Austin that you probably haven't heard of. No one has. It's called Maynard.
Oh,
And
I know where
I was
that
raised
is.
by my mother and my father.
it ain't that. Come on,
And I grew up
Amber.
with a little sister, although I have a big sister as well.
And your little sister's name is?
Her name is Whit Hurd.
And how much of an age difference is there between the two of you?
Whitney and I are about 1 year. I think we're 16 months apart. So
I'm that.
Next year's
That's
birthday.
the age difference between me and my
What
sister.
did your father do for a living?
my father broke horses and did construction. He painted houses, and hunted and fished. But that was for fun.
And what did your mom do?
She worked for the state of Texas.
Let me just, since you talked about the breaking horses, can you just tell the jury what your role is in assisting your dad on that and what is involved in breaking horses?
Correct,
Objection
Tony.
leading.
Can you just tell me about?
Overruled.
You just got to stay on, basically. I would help him. I was more of a crash test dummy. You know, when you train a horse, it's a wild animal. It doesn't necessarily like to be ridden. And there are people out there who are crazy enough, like my dad, to pick that as a profession, I guess. And he was really good with horses, and I was the son he never had. So it was my job to, stay on.
And what, if anything, did you learn from your father about how to react to the horses?
Well, with training horses, I guess the key things are to
Here
not show
we
fear,
go. Here we go. Look, lady, horses
not
and
get
humans
intimidated,
are not the
show
same.
fear,
Okay. I
be
know all
tough
kinds of
and
stuff
calm.
about dogs, but I don't treat dogs like humans
Tell
and
the
I
jury
don't
a little
treat
bit
humans like
about
dogs.
your
Come on now. Stop
educational
playing with these
background during
people.
those growing up years and your work experience.
I worked any job that I could from the time I was really young. I wanted to get out of Texas and do something with my life and see things and do things. So I was in school and really pushed myself to, I just always pushed myself to be able to accelerate the process. I wanted to, get out of school as fast as I could. And I wanted to do more things with my life than stay in Texas.
So what types of things, so where did you go to school when you were younger?
I was a scholarship kid at a Catholic school growing up, several different Catholic schools, but they were always in the other, on the other side of town, in the wealthier part of town. And I grew up quite working class, and thankfully with,
Hey,
as
Momo.
long as I maintained an A average, I enjoyed the benefit of a scholarship, and I did that until I realized that I could take my GED and SATs early, and I did that and placed out of school and effectively left school 16
All
years
right.
old.
Let's call it what it is. I too
What did
have
you
my
do
good
for
enough
work
diploma. All
during
right.
those younger years?
Don't act like,
I
you
took
did
any
this.
job
You just
that I
want it
could. I
out.
worked
Just
at my
say it. I
father's
want it out. I
construction
got my
company,
GED and then
sometimes,
I took my
just
SATs. Like, come on.
administrative
Don't be
stuff. I mean,
bougie
it was a
about
small
it.
company. But I answered phones, and I worked at a modeling agency that was also, offered photography classes, makeup classes, hair and makeup classes for people that were pursuing a career in entertainment. And I started taking classes that I paid for by working there effectively as a trade. And I eventually worked there long enough to be able to pay for my headshots, which are the pictures that you use in the industry to promote yourself, in whatever, acting, modeling, or both.
Oh, she's looked at him already at like 37
And
times
what, if
in
any,
this 2
charitable work
seconds.
did you do when you were still young?
It started off as a requirement for the school I went to, and then I liked it so much, I think, because it meant I wasn't at home, and that was important to me, is just to not spend time at home. And I really loved meeting people. So I worked at the soup kitchen every morning before school, during the school year, for about 4 years. I didn't go on weekends, but on weekends I would do various things. Worked at children's.
Oh, okay. You were a Girl Scout and a volunteer and all these things. Okay, wonderful.
With younger
Yeah.
volunteers.
I think you're right,
Mostly
Anaphylaxis.
soup kitchens and things.
He's
involving
not gonna,
children. I
he's
worked at
been
the,
told
with
not to
deaf
look
kids
at
for a
her
while,
because she
and,
doesn't like to be ignored.
Yeah, I love it.
I will not
And
be
when you
ignored,
worked
Dan.
With deaf kids, what, if anything, did you do? To
Bruh,
learn
are
to
you
be able to work with
testifying
them?
or trying to apply to
Objection leading
college?
and 404. And relevance, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Well, I taught myself how to sign basic sign language.
Yeah, me
and
too. I can
then
flip the burden. Yeah.
I pursued it. I audited a course at the community college, which I ended up going to get out of high school early later on. But I would audit classes. The teachers never wanted to kick.
I didn't have to take a class to get out of,
random 12-year-old out of
out
their
of high
class, I
school
suppose.
early.
So
That's
I
essentially what
remarkably
the
was able
good
to
enough
audit,
diploma means,
I think
ma'am.
the majority of 2 semesters, and that's also helped me learn.
So how did you end up in Los Angeles?
I did a small job in Texas where I played a part in a movie, and the actor in the movie that I was playing opposite had an agent visiting him from LA, and I met her on set, and she said that she had heard about me from another bit part I did. You know, I was taking jobs in Austin for really anything, to be an extra, to I did makeup once.
Oh, you did makeup, did you?
You know,
Interesting.
nothing, no job was too small or, you know, for me. So I put myself out there, and she had heard about me, and she said, I have heard about you in this town, and I'd love to meet you in LA if you're ever out in LA. And I was like, when can I come? And she made an appointment with me for the following week, and I used all but $180 or something to get out there. And I landed. I didn't know
Oh my
anyone.
God,
I was
Christy.
17. And I've effectively been there ever since, I suppose.
So when you arrived in Hollywood, please tell the jury what you did to get moving there, get going.
Yes.
went
Tell us,
to
Amber. I'm
every audition,
fascinated.
every casting, every meeting, every appointment that I could. I put myself out there. I didn't have a car because those were expensive. So I took the bus around LA. It was before smartphones. I had a Thomas guide in my bag and a change of tank tops. Not that it mattered, but I went to about 10 auditions sometimes a day, and would change clothes if I needed to in the back of, you know, the bus I was taking. And I just hustled from one audition to the other. And I got a bit part on one thing, and then I got a bit part on another thing. And then eventually
Hey,
my
Melmac.
roles kind of became more important or bigger. And it's been a slow progression, I guess, since then, you know, of doing either tiny bit parts in bigger movies or doing, you know, larger roles in movies that no one would see. And I guess, you know, it still is kind of like that.
So I'm going to ask you to go from 2002 to 2009. If you could just describe for the jury a little bit what types of parts you had. I think they've indicated they didn't, you have not been well known here in this courtroom compared to Mr. Depp. So perhaps just take them through a little bit of that.
Oh, God.
That's fair. I did small roles in big films like, you know, Zombieland and Pineapple Express. And
She was the girlfriend.
Movies that were well known. My first one was Friday Night Lights. But again, I had small roles in those bigger films. And then I would do larger roles in kind of smaller films. Like I did a project where I was the lead in a John Carpenter film, and he came out of retirement to do that. And that's kind of how it was.
Okay, but he didn't come out of retirement for you to be in a movie there, ma'am.
10 years or so. It was just going from slightly bigger role to slightly bigger role. And
I ruined The Stand. Just say it. Say you ruined The Stand.
After 2008, did there come a time that you auditioned for the Rum Diary?
Yes, I auditioned for that in about 2008, I believe.
Please describe for the jury your experience in auditioning for the Rum Diary.
Well, I auditioned a few times, which is common in my work. You know, you get a call back, as they say. And I think I had at least one, maybe two callbacks.
Hey, Shmita.
With the director. And then I got a call saying that Johnny, who at the time was, I think I knew that he was producing it as well, was doing a project that was something very personal to him. He was reprising his role as his late friend, Hunter S. Thompson, and it was a very important project to him, and that he wanted to meet me in person. I thought I would be going for maybe an audition, but it was just a meeting. I went to his office and met with him for a few hours.
And what did you talk about during those few hours?
We talked about books and music, poetry. We like a lot of the same We liked a lot of the same stuff.
Okay.
Obscure
Name some
writers
books and stuff that you like, and
interesting
poets,
books and
poems, and
pieces of poetry
poets.
that I hadn't heard anybody else reference or know or like. And
You
he
seem super scholarly, so let's hear it.
was very well read and charismatic. And, I think I left the office with a few books that he gave me. And we spent the whole time just talking about things that we care about. And I was so surprised that somebody, I knew who he was. I wasn't familiar, I wasn't a fan of his work. I wasn't familiar with him, but I knew who he was. He's one of the most famous people in the world. So it was already a weird thing to go and get called into his office. And, I'm a no-name actor.
I wasn't a
was
fan of him. I
22,
wasn't familiar
and
with his work.
I thought it was unusual. It was weird because he was twice my age and he's this world famous actor. And here we are getting along about obscure books and weird, old blues. And we just,
Thank you, Jeanette.
I thought it was remarkable.
Welcome to the
I thought it
Fall
was unusual and
Club.
remarkable. I left there just feeling like, wow.
So did there come a time that you learned that you were going to be cast for the role in the Rum Diary?
Yes. A few days later, my agent said that Johnny's going to call you. We gave him your phone number. I was like, oh, okay. And shortly after, my phone rings, I pick it up and I hear, this like deep voice on the other line. And
Yeah.
he said, you got
That's what she likes.
you're
Alex
it,
nailed
kid.
it. Coloring
You're
books.
the dream. Hunter wrote this part and you're the dream. You're
Color
it,
by
kid.
probably. She needs help.
And
Amazing.
Bless
please
it.
describe for the jury what that means. What was the Rum Diary and this Hunter Thompson? What was the concept here and what role were you playing?
Well, it was my understanding that he was bringing to life his late friend. And what he told me was that
Excuse me.
this character is supposed to be the dream woman, like the dream, American dream. And so I knew what he meant. He indicated to me when he told me I got the role that I was that, I was the dream kid. That's what he said.
So did there come a time that you started filming the Rum Diary?
Yes, I'm not quite sure how much. I think we started filming in maybe March of 2009.
And where did you film the Rum Diary?
We shot it in Puerto Rico.
My bad. Sorry, Mark
And
Klein.
describe,
Mark
if
Klein
you
wins the
can,
internet with
the
coloring
events of
books.
the filming and your
See how
interactions
honest
with Mr. Depp during
Alex
that time.
is? Sorry about that, Mark. I didn't
It was
see
a bit
that.
surreal, filming in a place like Puerto Rico. It was beautiful. It takes place in the 50s. So everything really looked beautiful, and, cars and clothing, the music. It was a very colorful shoot in general. I couldn't have asked for, a better scenario. I was on film. I mean, I was on set, reading my books, and occasionally Johnny would talk to me, and then he started to be really kind to me, like more open with me, when we'd have
Hey,
hot days
Carla Franco,
filming.
welcome.
There'd be this big SUV pull up and a security guard would kind of
I think
usher me
that's
into
her
this
legal
car,
name now.
and it would have the AC
Amber, worst
blasting,
mistake Johnny
and I'd be
Depp ever
sitting
made
in the back
her.
of the SUV.
I think that's her new name.
Just thinking
like
what a
her
strange
government name.
experience the whole thing was. And, we didn't really have a whole lot of interaction on set until we did a scene that involved kissing. We had a kissing scene, and it didn't feel like a normal scene anymore. It felt more real. There are certain things that you do in the job to be professional, like when you have to do that sort of scene, and you don't you don't use your tongue if you can avoid it. There's certain things that you do to just maintain a certain line, and it just felt like those lines were blurred. I mean, he grabbed my face and pulled me into him and really kissed me. But we were filming a scene.
I don't want to
He
be
used his
rude or
tongue?
anything, Amber, but
Yes.
Johnny Depp's version
Did
of
your
events
birthday-
was
did you
way
celebrate
hotter and
your
more
birthday while
romantic.
you were in Puerto Rico?
I did. I celebrated, I think, maybe my 23rd birthday there.
And what, if anything, did Mr. Depp do for your birthday?
Well, we were already kind of talking about books and poetry and things like that. He gave me a few really beautiful poetry books. And he gave me a bicycle, like a vintage bicycle, because at the time I was riding around on a bike, and I had a lot of time off since I was a smaller role in the movie. And yeah, I think that was it.
Okay. Now, did there come a time that you ended up
36, Alex.
visiting him in his trailer?
Yes, I think there was we would hang out if, after or in between scenes or in between setups. We often were, talking about things and would continue the conversation into the trailer, often with the director. Bruce Robinson was his name. And then at one point we talk about wine. It's another thing that Johnny and I shared in common, a love for wine, red wine. And we were talking about a kind of wine that I enjoyed. And I was, going on about how great this bargain wine was. And I didn't understand, how much more sophisticated Johnny's taste in wine was. So I was going on about the virtues of Malbec or something. And I brought him a bottle of this wine, and I set it down. And at some point,
I think Lily
I'm
Rose
going back to
is
get back to set,
21 or
and
22
he
now.
kind of kicked his foot up in the air.
Mel
and
Mac.
basically kind of lifted the back of my
No, ma'am,
bathrobe
Alex. He's
up,
58. He hasn't
and
quite
Can I
turned
just stop you there? Why
59
were
yet.
you
He's
wearing-
about to be
because I
59.
was doing a scene. It was a period film. So
When you
it's,
get older,
took
you'll
place in the
understand why
50s.
these
And so I had
extra
all of
months
this,
you don't want to be going ahead of the game.
Old undergarments that are for that time era on. And the scene involved me changing. So I had all the costume on. And he kind of picked up the back of my robe with his boot.
No, Mel Mac.
And I kind of turned around and
She
laughed,
doesn't have kids.
giggled.
Oh, see, look
know,
at me guessing good.
I
21,
wasn't- I
20.
didn't
Isn't that what I said?
feel-
21, 22?
I just didn't I didn't know what to make of it at the time. And I just kind of giggled and batted it away playfully. And he kind of playfully kind of pushed me down on this bed sofa.
Bed
that was in his
sofa.
trailer, just playful
Like a chaise, Amber.
and flirtatious. And he said,
Since you're so
"Yum."
worldly.
And he kind of lifted up his eyebrows like that.
Alex, I'm just teasing you.
And I
Hey, Lupe.
just giggled, laughed it off, kind of batted him away, and moved on, went back to set.
And were you in a relationship at that time?
I was.
Okay. And was Mr. Depp in a relationship at that time?
That was my understanding. Yeah.
Okay. And did anything else of significant happen during that time period while you were filming?
The
with Mr.
fainting
Depp,
couch.
other than what you've told us?
We just had this, it was a friendship, flirtatious thing. I felt chemistry. I felt this other thing that went beyond the pale of my job, for sure. Johnny clearly felt that way about me, had indicated to me that that's how he felt in many different ways. But at the same time, we were both in relationships, and it is a job, and, it was intimidating. And I just remember feeling kind of intimidated and just a
This
little
freeze.
nervous about that. And I also was in a relationship, so we went our separate ways, and I didn't hear from
Hold on
him
a sec.
for a long time.
And that's so.
Because can y'all still hear the audio but not see her moving? Because sometimes I can hear, hey, criminality. Sometimes I can hear the audio and y'all can't. So, all right, hold on. I'm going to try it again.
So approximately how long were you filming in Puerto Rico for the Rum Diary?
A few months is my,
The contact from Mr. Depp.
Oh, she's just
And
frozen.
contact
Oh, that
could
ain't me.
include anything, communications, written communications.
It's their it's
as
their
well as,
issue
telephone or
because
otherwise.
he's moving.
we had no contact until
It's not a Jen Lou
Johnny
thing.
called me on the phone one day, and I was driving, and he invited me over to his home in California, in Beverly Hills, and I it was out of the blue. I didn't even have his phone number, so it was quite unexpected.
Oh, thank you,
He called me a
Alex.
second
You're so
time,
sweet.
but
Thank you so much.
I don't think we actually
if I
connected,
can-
or we didn't stay on the phone because we didn't. Well, yeah, we
Oh, it's
didn't
so
really
sweet
speak,
of
but
you.
The
I
first
can't
time was the
hi-
only time I actually spoke to him.
It won't let me highlight it
invited
on
me
the
over to his
StreamYard.
house,
Like I don't even see it. It's weird.
Under kind of he said that we could get Bruce, who was the director, to come over. Something about the movie, but it was clearly not about the movie. If you know what I mean, it was.
No, we don't know what you mean. We
So I
weren't there.
said,
Tell it.
I said my friends are in town, and I'm busy with that.
Okay,
I kind of hung
Copa.
up,
No
feeling very
worries. I'm just grateful that you're here.
startled. That didn't know what else to do.
What, if any, gifts did Mr. Depp send you during that time period after you filmed the Rum Diary?
He sent me several gifts. He sent
Oh,
me a
thank
beautiful
you,
dress,
Copa. I
one that
appreciate that a
wore
lot.
in the movie, with a beautiful handwritten note.
Criminality,
happy
you won't come
wrapping,
up? You want me to send you the
and,
link? Want to
made
roaster with
reference
me?
to the dress being wrapping paper. He sent me a few gorgeous,
Oh,
expensive,
wow. That's so
what I can
cool.
only
Thank
assume
you,
are
Copa.
expensive
So sweet.
collectible books, items. And then when I was away filming on a different job, he he did send me some guitars. I know one delivery. I was informed about one delivery, and my partner at the time intercepted the attempt to deliver and called me immediately and said, "What should I do?" And I said, "Send it back." And she did, and she indicated that
Vincent's
there was
missing
at the
ear?
time there was another one
Okay, babe.
that had already previously attempted delivery, and it was also rejected. I sent it back because I wasn't there and I wouldn't have accepted it anyway.
Okay. Did there come a time that you ended up having to go on a press tour for the Rum Diary?
I got a call for the Rum Diary press tour in the fall of
Yes,
2011.
Copacabana.
that's
Teresa
close
busted
to
that information
two
out.
and a half years
Criminality up
after you
there.
filmed?
She finds all. She knows all the
I'm
things.
actually
I don't
not
be.
a mathematician for a reason. Roughly, yes.
Okay. And could you please describe for the jury what a press tour is? Just explain it to them.
She
You
didn't ask
take
you to
a
work out the
movie
theory
once
of
it's
relativity,
completed,
lady. She
and,
asked you to add up
if it
a
doesn't
few
have
months. Come
distribution,
on now.
you
Need to
as
be a
part of the
mathematician
promotion
for
of
that.
movie, you go to these
Lord.
various places, normally cities, like London or New York, and you do press events in those cities to kind of promote the film, and you go to place talking about the film.
Criminality. Can you
And
get me
so
the Barnum's
you were then
circus
called to
animal
participate
crackers?
in the press tour for the
Just
Rum
one little
Diary?
box. Those are my
Yes,
favorite
I had,
snacks. Please.
I had just finished going through the process of separation with my former partner, and I was moving and going through that, and I got a phone call saying, "Remember that movie you did in Puerto Rico? Well, they want you for the press tour." And I said, "Well, perfect timing." And we did that, I think late October 2011.
Okay. So describe for the jury your interactions with Mr. Depp during the press tour.
Well, on the first stop, the beginning.
Hold on.
of the tour
I
was
do want to
Los
say
Angeles,
something
where we
before
both
she starts
lived,
this.
And
All right. Here's the deal. Now, y'all know I'm not a fan of Amber Heard. Not even a little, not even an itty bit. Email, Carla. My email is on my about section, babe. This is what I want to say. I just want to give her a 0.5% credit here. Now, we all know that not only was she in a relationship, but he was also in a relationship when they met. And that they both she's been referred to as a homewrecker. And we all know what that type of title, how, that can be damaging to somebody's reputation. All right. Whether it's true or not, but she's about to have to talk about this in court for reals in front of a jury, which that's got to be tough for her. And that's the only percentage of decency that I'm going to give her, like a half a credit. So if you're in Jen Lou's class, Amber, you don't qualify for a GED quite yet. You're just getting a half credit, because this has got to be kind of difficult testimony, because everybody blames her for the breakup of the relationship between Johnny Depp and Vanessa Paradis. So I don't want to give her any more credit than that, but she does deserve that at least. Okay. While she bites her lip. Look, she looks like a whole monster. She looks like she's about to be Randall from Monsters, Inc. and scare the scream out of kids. That's what she looks like just in this freeze.
We did a press day, normal press day, and then at the end of it, I was invited.
Oh, thank you,
by
Molson man.
Johnny
You're
to
the
come up
best.
to his room to have a drink with him and the director of the film. And I went up to the room to see both him and Bruce. But as soon as I got there, Johnny said Bruce wasn't.
She has
going to
earned
make
no
it.
points
So
for the
I
hairdo
stayed.
today, criminality.
Johnny and I started talking. He asked me about my relationship. I said, well, I'm going through it. I'm going through the separation right now, and it's been, rough couple of months, but that's normal. And he said, well, that's same with me. It's been, I can't remember exactly how long he said it had been, but that he had split from the mother of his kids, and said that he understood.
All right. And then what happened next?
Randall
Then
from
we
Clerks would be a
drank red
compliment,
wine
as
and
Randall
continued to
from Clerks
talk,
had range.
and
Amber Heard
the
does
talking
not.
became us, reconnect. It was like reconnection was almost instant. It was just chemistry. It's hard to explain that, but we sat on the couch and we talked, and it felt like there was it felt like there was an electricity to the room, and it's how I felt when I was alone with him anyway. And it was instant again. I was like, whoa. So on the couch, we talked, finished some wine, and then I got up and left. And as I went to leave, he grabbed both sides of my face, similar to what he did in Puerto Rico when we were filming that scene. And he kissed me, and I kissed him back.
And what happened next with respect to any relationship with Mr. Depp?
Well, then we fell in love. We went on this press tour, and we went. It was a beautiful and strange time. We're flying from one, not together, but going from one city to the next, Europe, New York, Los Angeles, as I said, and we're just traveling around talking about this movie that we did together, that we participated in together, and we were falling in love. I mean, it was just, at the first dinner in London, he sat me next to me. He produced the film and was a part of controlling the film and was responsible for different things than I was as an actor having a small part in it. And we went on this press tour, and I think in London he had me sat next to him at a dinner, and then we ended up spending the night together in my hotel room. And for the rest of the press tour, it was on. I'll put it that way.
All right. And how long approximately did the press tour go?
I don't know exactly how long it lasted. I think, you know, there were press engagements in this city for a few days and then another city for a few days. And then there was a break and then there was another press opportunity, I believe. So it was kind of spread out over maybe a month, if I'm guessing.
So when you returned to Los Angeles, what, if anything, took place with any relationship with Mr. Depp?
Well, once we were back from the press tour, you know, we had this, you know, whirlwind romance kind of just in these like beautiful places all over, and we're falling in love and not able to really show it because he wasn't, that the world didn't know about the split between he and his former partner. And of course, as a woman, I was like, is that troubling? You know, and I'd ask him, no, you know, he swore to me that they hadn't even shared a bed for a year and that they were protecting the kids and not publicizing it. So, or not making it known to the press. And so we kind of had to be a little bit under the radar, not a little bit, we had to be really under the radar because as Johnny pointed out, that the world would blame me and call me a homewrecker, even though I had nothing to do with it. So we were secretly dating, and then, you know, it was beautiful. It was, I felt like this man knew me and saw me in a way that no one else had. I felt he understood me. I felt he understood where I came from. I felt that like when I was around Johnny, I felt like the most beautiful person in the whole world. You know, it made me feel seen, made me feel like $1 million. And that kind of feeling where, you know, he just lavish gifts and lavish expressions of love, and how he had never met a woman like me. I mean, I remember he took the foil off of this bottle and put it on my ring finger. And I had only been with him like days, you know, or maybe it was weeks at the time. Yeah, it was probably about a few weeks, but it just felt very intense. But we weren't doing normal life stuff. We weren't like stuck in traffic with each other. We weren't going to the grocery store and doing life. We were like hiding in these places around the world. He has so many homes. And so we'd be in one of those homes, or my home at the time, and it would be like a bubble, like we were in this little bubble of secrecy, and it felt like a warm glow, as we would say. Just music and the kind of books that we both loved and poetry that we both knew by heart. And it felt like a dream. It felt like absolute magic.
So while you're dating, I take it you're dating at this point, right?
Yeah,
While you're falling in love, you're also dating, right? Okay.
Yes.
Did there come a time early on that you ended up going to his Bahamas island?
Yes. So shortly after, you know, we, I think, started dating October of 2011. And, you know, as I mentioned, this bubble, you know, where he'd come over to my house and not leave for like 3 or 4 days, you know, just smoking cigarettes and playing music and reading poetry to me or painting me, or, you know, just talking. And then he would disappear. And there'd be just no way to get a hold of him, no way to contact him. At first, I didn't really think anything about it, but he disappeared.
Objection, relevance. None of this is relevant. I'm bored already.
And then came back and said he was dealing with some health issue, and would I join him in the Bahamas? And I think that's when I learned he had an island. And I was on a trip with a friend of mine in Spain, and it was for the holidays, and I kind of rerouted my trip so I could come and land in LA instead of landing in Miami instead of LA, so I could go and meet him on the island. And he had Keenan come and meet me on that trip, like in Miami. I get off one plane, get onto another, and go and join him on his private island.
Lupe, are you kidding me? I can't even
I
cry when
noticed
I'm
he was
supposed to
drinking
cry.
Beck's and tea, like lots of tea. And I didn't foolishly think anything of it. I just, thought the man really seriously, I missed it before, but really, really loves tea. And we had this beautiful, I don't know, less than a week probably, trip in the Bahamas, a private island, beautiful sandy beaches. It's a scene that you just don't, I had never experienced anything like that.
Is she trying to imply with the
It was a
tea that he
beautiful
was doing the
place,
shrooms?
A beautiful time. And
Is that what the tea is about?
I fell head over heels in love with this man.
So after the Bahamas, I assume you came back, and are we talking now early 2012?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So what were you doing work-wise?
Oh, detoxing.
While
Okay,
you
that
were
makes
in this
sense.
early
Sugar
stage?
beet.
What I always do, I would
Oh,
be taking job to job to job.
Max says
going
I'm
from
right. I'm
one
confused.
movie to the next. Mostly not filming in LA. So weirdly, you live in LA to go shoot on location in other places. So when I was in town, we would go back to this bubble, like insular bubble with beautiful, blaringly loud music and no one else and nothing else. And then, I'd go off to work. And so would he. Eventually, yeah, he left to shoot Lone Ranger, I believe.
Okay. Now, we've heard a little bit about Lone Ranger, and that's about mid 2012. Is that right? When he was shooting that?
That sounds right.
Oh, that would make me. I don't know
And
if
were you
that would
shooting
make me
anything at
cry.
that time?
But that is sad, Amelia.
I was shooting.
I'm not a crier, you guys. So if my eyes leak, it's for the real.
Machete
I believe I
Kills?
was shooting Machete Kills in Austin. I had a small part in a
Oh
Robert
God, I
Rodriguez film
totally
shot
forgot
in
that she was
Austin.
in that.
But I think Johnny was shooting and then having some time off, and there was just a lot of travel, a lot of movement. So.
And so what, if any, visiting did you do with Johnny while he was on his set for Lone Ranger, and where was he?
Well, he was filming all over the Southwest, and at some point I came to visit him and on one of his locations, and I would stay in the house because I couldn't really, occasionally I would leave with his security guards, but I didn't really have anything to do but visit him for a few days. So I'd cook and
you
stay
seem
at home and paint or whatever, and wait for him to come home and have dinner ready. And we would have these little bubbles, but kind of scattered throughout the Southwest, and as he was filming. And at the time, Johnny had, when I first arrived at one of these locations, it was the first time that Johnny told me that he had a health issue, something with his liver, and that he wasn't, that's why he was not drinking. He was drinking a lot of tea, like a lot of tea.
Okay. And so,
like a lot of
we've
tea.
heard
I don't
a
even
little
know what that
testimony
means.
About boots. What, if anything, did you do?
We
to
have not
help
heard a lot
them
of
with
testimony
boots?
about boots. Stop
Well,
it.
I mean,
He told a story that she flipped out
suppose
because
that I took off his boots and it made an
Lord.
impression on him, and I was happy to, anything I can do to show love. Certainly how I felt about him. But if he wanted to,
Is that
take
why
off
you
his own
pooped
boots,
in the
he
bed? You
certainly
were
could.
showing him how much you loved him by
Did you
leaving
buy
some
Mr.
DNA
Depp any knives
in case he wanted to
during
clone
that
you?
time period?
Objection leading.
Sustained.
What, if anything, did you do with respect to knives?
Still
during the time
leading.
period you were with him in the Lone Ranger.
Objection leading.
What, if anything?
Did you ever buy Johnny Depp gifts?
Johnny
What
had
gifts?
a thing for turquoise, and that eventually, being in the Southwest, it can happen really quickly. I also too really love turquoise, and he has.
I drink a lot of sweet tea
He
and
loves
water.
knives. He loves a lot of things. When Johnny loves things,
Somebody
he
get
does
that
it
bell and
a
ring
lot,
it behind me
lots
while
of it.
following me around yelling
So
shame.
he had these daggers that he had given me that really, they were beautiful in design.
Oh, he weaponized
and,
you? I mean, he gave you weapons. He armed you?
They're,
That was a
long
mistake.
curved daggers. And he just talked a lot about knives, had a knife and gun collection, and was quite proud of it. And at some point, I don't really remember exactly when it was, but at some point I picked up what I thought was a really beautiful turquoise handled knife. And I had it engraved with a saying that Johnny would say to me all the time, which I, thought was romantic, as funny as that is to say now.
And what was the expression, the saying?
Until death, hasta la muerte in Spanish.
Now,
Oh.
by the time that you're visiting,
You said it exactly
Mr.
how
Depp
I thought you
in-
would, Amber.
during his shooting of Lone Ranger in the June through August.
Might have to clip the
2012
part where
timeframe,
Johnny Depp
what
says
if
it so
any
everybody can know how
relationship
it's
has he developed
intended
with
to
your
be
family?
pronounced. Oh, what are you drinking there?
Oh, well,
What you
starting
got
really
there?
early on, Johnny was so kind, so generous to my family, but especially my mom and dad. He just really, he met my dad, and my dad's a big personality. He's a rowdy guy.
Oh, is he?
And Johnny just all of a sudden, I had never noticed, Johnny have a southern, all of a sudden Johnny had this southern accent and was really like buddies with him. And they really,
Y'all,
seemed to
I
get
love
along
you, but I can't make it at
very
normal
well.
speed.
They're,
I'm going to have to
just,
put her
like,
at
instantly,
1.25.
He was giving my dad gifts. He gave
can't.
him guns. He gave him knives. They had this, Johnny just really just showered my dad. And my dad's a working man, salt of the earth guy. And he was just like, floored. He's getting all these amazing gifts and being invited to come onto these locations. And
it's not,
Johnny's this big
he
movie
has,
star,
he
and
might
dad
have a
was
little
just like,
twang every once in a while because,
I think my dad
gee,
would
I
have
don't
married
know.
himself, not
He was in
if I
Florida,
hadn't.
and
And
Floridians
just
do have a
instantly-
little twang.
He gave my mom jewelry, brought her out to come and see me.
Also
while I was visiting
Kentucky.
Johnny.
I don't want to be rude or anything.
On Lone Ranger in some part of the Southwest. I think it was Colorado. He gave her this beautiful turquoise necklace, and they were definitely taken by him.
And what if
Oh,
any,
spicy
relationship had Mr.
nonstop
Depp
mom
forged was written
36H
by
is in the
your sister?
house.
I believe the relationship
Good to see you, babe.
came a little bit later as they got to know each other, but he did the same thing with my sister and just really
Every once in a while, my twin comes
found,
out.
a bond with them that
if I want to, I can really make it
was-
come out. I just choose not to.
it was he tried to do anything and everything he could to make
No,
them
you're
feel
right.
like
Yeah, Kentucky.
special, and they did. My mom, my dad, and my sister.
And what if any relationships did Mr. Depp form with your friends?
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about
Johnny
that,
is
Amber. How generous
So
he
generous
was.
and can be this really like overly generous, almost. Like showering you with gifts and compliments, and just
He sounds like an absolute
and his access
monster.
and means to really, we're not talking about giving you a card or like talking about just these like extravagant trips or these extravagant gestures. And it's a lot. And he did that with my close friends. I relied heavily on my friends and had a pretty strong support network with them. And he really just
You think
showered
1.5?
them with
I'm
generosity and love
I'm going with
light
Teresa
and
here.
invited them to come to these
I
like,
love y'all,
places
but
and
I can't
flew
with her.
people here and there. He's incredibly generous.
So going back to the filming of the Lone Ranger.
Hey,
what, if
Rena.
anything, did Mr. Depp
Good to
do
see
with
you.
respect to a horse?
Objection leading.
What if anything?
Not what if anything. Do you not know how to
at one
ask
point insisted on
questions?
buying me a horse, and I, of
Is
course,
this your
said
first day at lawyer school? What are you
extravagant.
doing?
There's no way I could accept that. That's also how will I take care of that horse. It's so extravagant. So I said no, of course. Eventually, he got a hold of my dad and worked it out with my dad what kind of horse to buy, and then showed me a picture of this horse and said, "It's yours. It's coming here." I think it was being transported, and he said, that he had my dad's help on it, picking out. And I grew up on my dad's horses. I grew up riding with my dad, so I went. I had resisted for I think about like a month and a half or something of him kind of bringing up the idea and me saying, "That's a crazy gift. No, thank you. No, that's incredibly generous. I couldn't accept." To all of a sudden, I had a colt.
So
Look how ungrateful
so
she
let's-
sounds
let's
about
take you
it.
through 2012.
All of a sudden,
the
I had a
relationship.
cult.
Could you just describe for the jury a little bit about how that relationship evolved through 2012?
Why don't you take some
was always
MDMA
intense. It would
now,
become
Amber?
intense. It
Maybe
almost
I can
started that
bear
way.
you.
When I was with him, I felt that electricity in my body. I felt like butterflies. I couldn't see straight practically. It was just, I was head over heels in love. And he felt like that to me. He felt like he was also in love. I didn't feel like he was faking it. I felt like what we had, it felt like to me at the time, there wasn't any love like that, and then he started to kind of do this thing again where he'd disappear and he'd come back. And I remember at first when he first started drinking, I didn't really think much of it, but all of a sudden the behavior kind of started to go in line with the disappearing. And
Yeah,
he'd come
she
back and he'd
absolutely
just be
is
different.
establishing a
And
love
I'd
bombing
say
narrative.
something
But
and
here's the thing.
He'd accuse me of saying
This is
something
the
else.
part
or
I
saying it a
did
different way, or
watch.
he would, it was mostly my clothing.
And
at
this
the
is
time
where
and me
she
working.
gets
That
it
was the main
wrong.
thing. Like,
So give me just a sec.
I found myself trying to not talk about auditions because it would change the mood so dramatically. I tried to, he would make these comments about, whoring myself out, but do so in the context of me acting, and he would talk about other actresses who do my role in this way where they were worthless whores, that they were, fame hungry, expletive, just this. The point is, it felt really dirty to be an actor. Never mind that he was one. It was dirty that I wanted to do this job that I wanted to do, and I was doing the job of an actress. It was every time I was walking out of the house, he would ask me, "That's really what you're wearing, kid? Oh, I see. I wore a dress to an event once, and I felt beautiful in it." Like, stupid as that sounds, I felt pretty in this dress I picked out, and I showed it him because it's a carpet, it's red carpet, so it's like publicized, and I kind of thought it was weird. He wasn't saying anything about it. I left him to go do this red carpet, and I was like, "Did you see the event I went to?" Basically, I felt pretty, and I thought, like, did you see that? I wanted him to say something about that, I guess.
Yeah, Teresa, I'm very upset about
And,
this no court
And he
because
said,
the judge is going
well,
on vacay.
This is after he stopped talking to me for some time, didn't tell me why. When he came back into my life, he wouldn't explain why he was acting different. He just kind of acted mad at me and didn't know what I had done wrong. And when
Did you
I brought up
ask?
the dress and the event, because it was an event to support a charity I was really involved with at the time, and I said, did you see that thing? And he said, yeah, I think the whole world saw that kid. That's how they'll remember you. That's how the world will remember you. And I was like, oh, come on. I mean, it's like, but I felt good in it. I felt good. And he said, yeah, kid, that's what you're putting out there in the world. No one will ever forget that. And that's all they'll see you as. That's what you wanted. That's what you were going for. My dress was low cut.
How interesting, because there's tons of
But I felt,
pictures with his wife, Vanessa,
I felt really
who was a
embarrassed and
model
horrible
and
that I wore that. I
is
felt like,
photographed in various
made that choice.
states
Of course,
of undress,
you start to
all the
believe
way
it. I started to
dressed.
believe it.
And
That made a lot of sense, of course.
I've seen her red carpet looks,
but it didn't
and
stop at
she's
that. It's just,
definitely not
his
dressed like a
clothing in general.
nun.
When I walked out of the house, it wasn't just like, hey, you're not allowed to wear that. It was like, oh, really? That's what you're wearing. No wonder you get cast in those roles. No
Maybe
wonder
he just thought you didn't have good taste in
That's what you're making
outfits,
it.
lady.
And it continued. And
then, oh gosh, tell me. And then,
and at first it was just to throw something, smash some things. He loves to smash up a place, an apartment, furniture. That's what it started with. Threw glass at me, and I remember it was summer. And he just threw this glass across the kitchen, and it didn't hit me, but it shattered behind me. And I remember thinking that it very easily could have hit me. And that, calling me a whore, it didn't start with using the whore word. It was just comments until it would escalate. And then I started to notice the pattern of escalation where he'd throw glass or turn over a table. Then he would hit the wall, and then he'd hit the wall really close to my head. Like when I'm standing there, just hit the wall, screaming at me. But then he would disappear and get clean and sober, and he'd come back and tell me that he was done drinking. He was over it. It's done. Cleaned himself up. He'd done it before, and he'd do it again. And then he would go back to this like wonderful, like almost like just unreal, like real, but unbelievably nice, sensitive, kind, warm, generous, interesting, funny man that I loved. And he would make me feel so loved. Like I would feel so distant from that thing that was so scary that I would not even recognize it too. And that was how, our relationship kind of started to develop in that first year.
Do you remember the first time that he physically hit you?
Yes.
Please tell the jury about it.
It's seemingly so stupid, so insignificant. Oh, never forget it. It changed my life. I was sitting on the couch, and we were talking. We were having a normal conversation, just There was no fighting, no argument, nothing. And he was drinking, and I didn't realize at the time, but I think he was using cocaine because it was like there was a jar of cocaine. out on the
Oh,
table.
okay.
I
So
realized it sounds weird, but it's
unlike Captain
a
Jack
natural vintage
Sparrow,
jar of it.
who has, I
But
got a
didn't see who
jar
he was
of
at the time, so I didn't
dirt.
really factor that in. I just, was
Johnny
drinking
Depp
and we're
has a
talking,
jar of
and there's
cocaine.
music playing, and he's smoking cigarettes, and we're sitting next to each other on the couch. And I asked him about the
A jar
tattoo he
of
has on his arm.
cocaine.
And to me, it just looked like
What happened
black
to the
marks.
box?
Like I didn't know what it said. It just looked like muddled, faded tattoo that was hard to read. And I said, "What does it say?" And he said, "It says wino." It says wino. And I didn't see that. I thought he was joking because it didn't look like it said that at all. And I laughed. It was that simple. I just laughed because I thought he was joking, and slapped me across the face. And I laughed.
Hey, Paige Vaughn, good to see you.
I laughed because I didn't know what else to do. I thought, this must be a joke. This must be a joke. Because I didn't know what was going on. I just stared at him, kind of laughing still, thinking that he was going to start laughing too to tell me it was a joke. But he didn't. He said, "You think it's so funny? You think it's funny, bitch? You think you're a funny bitch?" And he slapped me again. Like, it was clear it wasn't a joke anymore.
I
And
typically don't
stopped
slap
laughing, but I
people
didn't
as
know
a
what else to
joke
do.
across the face. You're
you-
right. Okay.
I didn't know what to do. You would think you would have a response, but I, as a woman, had never been hit like that. I'm an adult, and I'm sitting next to the man I love, and he slapped me for no reason, it seemed like, and I missed the point. It was that stupid. Second slap, I know he's not kidding, but I don't know what else to say. Or
I
do.
don't know,
just stared at him.
Shmita. That
I
part
didn't say
never
anything. I
made
didn't
sense to
react.
me. Like, you got a
Didn't move
whole
or
jar of dirt,
freak
but
out
you're
or
always
defend myself
looking
or
to re
say,
up.
"What are you doing? You're crazy."
What I
just
say, a
stared
whole
at him.
jar
I
of
didn't know what else
Coke,
to
not
do.
a whole jar of dirt. My
And he
bad.
slaps me one more time. Hard. I lose my balance. At this point, we're sitting next to each other on the edge of the couch, or I was on the edge of the couch. And I'm all of a sudden realizing that the worst thing has just happened to me that could possibly happen to you. I realized that I wish so much he had said he was joking, because it didn't hurt. It didn't physically hurt me. I was just sitting there on this carpet, looking at the dirty carpet, wondering how I wound up on this carpet and why I never noticed that the carpet was so filthy before. And I just didn't know what else to do. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to react. I just sat there thinking, how much time do I have till I figure out what I need to do? Because
So
God, did
now-
he just hit me.
Now he hits you, and
No,
I
I didn't want to leave him. I didn't want this to be the reality. I
has
didn't
a
want
dirty
to
carpet.
have the man I was
Wow.
in love with. I know you don't come back from that. I'm not dumb. I know you can't hit a woman. You can't hit a man. You can't hit anyone. You can't just hit somebody because I knew I knew it was wrong, and I knew that I had to leave him. And that's what broke my heart, because I didn't want to leave him. I thought if I got out of that room, that would leave the best thing that ever happened to me. And I wish I could sit here and say I stood up and I walked out of that house and I drew a line and I stood up for myself. I was just looking at the dirty carpet, trying to will myself to get up, to walk out of the door because I knew I needed to. And I really slowly, I stood up and I remember looking at him in the eye and just looking at him, frankly, because I didn't know what else to do. And before I know it, he starts crying. And, like I had never seen an adult man cry. I didn't even really see my dad cry at my grandma's funeral. It's weird. And he's crying. Tears, just falling out of his eyes. He gets down on his knees and he grabs my hands and he's touching my hands and he's saying to me, "I will never do that again. I'm so sorry, baby. I put the fucker away. I thought I killed it and it's done. I thought I put the monster away and I've done it before. It's done." But on his knees. And I didn't have words. I didn't know what to say. I just remember thinking that it was just, he was crying. He seemed so sorry.
She
but I knew I
did,
couldn't just forgive
Copa.
him because, right? That means it will happen again, no? Like I've seen the health class videos, like everyone else. And I got up in my car. I walked to the car. I didn't say anything. I made a point to not say, "Oh, it's okay," or anything like that. I just didn't say anything.
You seem like a person
I
who's
went to the car,
capable
I
of
sat in my
biting their
car,
tongue.
And I felt like I sat there forever. I didn't want to turn the key. I just leaned my head up against the window. And I remember just seeing my breath on the windshield, on the glass of the window of the door, just seeing my breath and trying to will myself to
Agreed,
have the strength
Vincent.
to
It's missing ear.
know what I should do in this moment, because I was heartbroken. And I sat there for a long time, and I eventually turned the key and drove home.
What did you do after that?
I don't know. I don't remember what I did when I got home. I don't remember. I went to my therapist. I told her.
Objection, hearsay.
I'll just say as to what she may have told her.
I went home and I, a few days later, started getting, I actually don't know how many days later, but I started getting calls and texts from Johnny, apologizing profusely. I mean, just, he said, I'd rather cut my hand off than ever lay it on you or lay it upon you, and he had that way of talking. It felt like poetry. And he showed up to talk, like with the understanding that, he understood I could never forgive him and it was done. So I felt kind of safe and saying, okay, let's have a talk, or, yeah, we'll talk. I think, I know I just wanted to see him, and he comes over, brings me gifts. He brought me a couple of cases, actually, of that Vega Sicilia wine that we've heard about, which is a really nice, expensive wine that I could never, at that time, dream of affording, and we talk, and he tells me that he had put this thing away, that I could trust him, that it would never happen again. Of course, it would never happen again. That he put this thing away. He killed the fucker, is what he said to me over and over again. I put that fucker away. I killed that monster. I'll kill it again. It's done. Never lay a hand on you again. And I wanted to believe him, so I chose to.
They talk about the text, but
I stay in the relationship.
stayed. I turned it off, and so I don't know if they actually
did.
ever show these texts.
I believed it. But, I believed it wouldn't. I believed that there was a line he wouldn't cross again, and that was it.
And so you stayed, correct? You stayed in the relationship.
Yes.
So is this a good time? You want me to
You can keep going a little longer, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
So could you please describe for the jury the evolution of your relationship after you
Yes.
joined?
Criminality.
I don't know how long it was until things got bad again. He did start drinking again. I remember.
Doesn't Danzig have a song called Liar? I feel like
it
that's
was
more
almost-
apropos for her. Please
he
hold while
started
I
drinking
Google.
again,
I'm
the
like
disappearing thing, coming back. He'd come
93%
back
sure
right,
that
like, in the
that's
middle
the
of the
right
night
song.
to my house.
Please hold.
And it would be unclear to me, drunk, often really drunk, and kind of accusing me, but not directly. Nothing was very direct. It was a lot of accusations, but they were veiled. What I was wearing, who I was with, why didn't I text him back? I didn't text him back right away. This was when I was at my place in Orange. Sometimes he would show up to catch me. That was a pretext for coming over. And by the time we were done talking, I would have thought I had convinced him that I loved him, that I only loved him, there was no one else, and then that we were back in an upswing and would go back to good, loving, sick, romantic love, kind, sweet.
My bad.
velvety
It's
love.
Henry Rollins.
And then it would be something I said. Why did you say it that way?
That would be the
I had to
better
leave for an
one.
audition. I could guarantee that couldn't guarantee, but 2 of those in a row. And when I came back, he was angry at me, and I wouldn't necessarily know why. And then he started accusing me of things. Probably at first it was indirect, and then it became really direct.
Who
And then the
remembers
punching,
looking
of
at
the
dirty
walls
carpet?
next to my head, which is a constant at that time in 2012 when he was drinking. Eventually that became, him accusing me of cheating. I'd defend myself. I'd say, that's crazy. You're wrong. I would never, the normal things. And it would escalate to the point where he would push me or shove me down, and then I'd get back up. And this happened several times. That's why it's not more specific, I suppose. When I get back up, I'd look him in the eye. I made a point of getting up and looking him in the eye.
Oh,
It's my way
yeah.
of defending myself at that
Anaphylaxis. That'd be a
time.
good one, too.
And I'd look at him, and he'd ask me if I wanted to go again, and shove me back down. Eventually, he just hit me. Remember, he hit me in the face when I denied having an affair with my ex-wife, my ex-partner at the time. And he said he had proof. I denied it.
I
And walking out
have,
of the bedroom,
Jody.
slapped me across the face.
I
turned
have.
to look at him, and I said, "Johnny, you hit me. You just hit me."
I'm going to ask you, Michelle, can you bring up 1783, please?
What number again, please?
I'm sorry,
What number?
defendants 1783?
1783. Thank you.
Do you recognize this picture?
Yes, I do.
And could you tell us what it is?
It's a picture of my face with a note that Johnny left for me by the coffee. Typically, is where we'd leave notes like that.
And does this accurately depict the scene portrayed?
It was one of those scenes. As embarrassing as it sounds now, I don't know which scene this came from. There was a lot. It escalated quickly, fast, and became.
And let me ask it a different way.
Thank you.
Is this a picture of you? Is it an accurate picture of you?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm going to move the admission of 1783.
Your Honor, we have an objection. And maybe
Okay,
approach.
sure.
I have, Jody. Often wondered, what if she's telling the truth, right? What if I'm missing something, right? Oh, that's an excellent idea, criminality. Good thinking. You're so smart. Um, I've wondered. Um, but there is an element of to me, it doesn't
Would
sound
you please
like.
describe for the jury?
Hold
some of
on,
the
I want to
cycles you
push
had with Mr. Depp through
push pause
2012?
because I don't want to. I want us to
So-
be sure and give Amber her moment. Before I met my husband, obviously I had other relationships, okay? And I have been on the receiving end of abuse, and not by my husband. I want to make that very, very clear. Before him. And I have a slick mouth, right? But the first time that a guy that wasn't my dad ever hit me, um, I was shocked. And I never said anything like that. I never said, you hit me. I was just trying to um, I was so shocked, and I was angry too. Believe me, I was angry, but I was so shocked that I didn't have words. So and that's I'm not one of those people. Like, I'm not afraid of conflict, and I'm not afraid of confrontation. And if somebody does something to me that I don't like, I'm very quick to say, don't do that. You know what I mean? So for me to be so shocked that, I mean, it just came out of nowhere, just smacked me right across the face. And for me not to be able to, for me not to have a comeback for that. And I always thought if a man ever hit me that I would swing back, because I never had a problem swinging back when it was a girl. But it's just different. And I never played 20 questions or repeated as an you hit me, you hit me. Like, that never happens. Or that never happened for me. And I've never heard it. I've never heard other women talk about that either. Like, I've heard women say at first they don't fight back, and they're just, I didn't stay in that relationship very long. Like, it was only a few months. So I don't know where it would have escalated to, but but other people that I know have talked about it, and they've said that it's the way it started out was them not fighting back. It was for them to try to avoid whatever it was that caused them to get hit. And after a long time, every once in a while, they would swing back just because they felt like they had no choice. But there is just something. Thank you, Molson man. Yeah, I was real young. It was before I was even 18 years old. I was young. I was just a kid, and I got out of it. It wasn't a long relationship, but I'm just saying, like, I'm okay. I know there's a lot of people that have had it really way worse than me, but there is something about her story that is hollow. It just does not ring true. And it's almost like her testimony is as if she's testifying from Johnny Depp's point of view, from being on you know what I'm saying? There's something that does not, it just doesn't ring true. It does not have the ring of truth to it. There's something very wrong about the way that she is talking about these situations. And I even tried to be like, okay, let me give her a break for a second, just because we have her sped up, and that could be a little bit of it. But I'm going to slow her down just a tiny bit, and we're going to go to 1.25. That's hardly anything. And I just, there's something not right. And I don't want to, it's like she's, who she sounds like, or her testimony reminds me of? Her testimony reminds me of Ezra McCandless and Jodi Arias. They're talking about the way they think it would feel to be abused, but they haven't actually been abused. That's what it is. Okay, I'm pushing play.
In 2012, the violence was pretty, relative to what it became, pretty, slapping, backhanding. Well, it went from
Thank you,
this
Jodi.
eggshell kind of, you're walking on eggshells, nothing you're doing is kind of right, but you don't know what you're doing wrong. And then I was doing something wrong clearly, but it was unclear within the scope of an argument what I was defending myself against. So it would shift from a rumor he had heard that I was
Hey,
with
MJ.
a friend, or I had been photographed standing too close to a male person. That was a person I'd have
No, she
I
didn't.
had something with, and I was lying to him about. And it would be eggshells, accusations, and then he would explode.
Yes.
It started with throwing
Yes,
things,
Carla.
destroying the property and screaming at me. I remember the screaming at me was the
Yeah,
worst,
because
'cause
that
kind
time
of
I got
always felt
slapped
like
across
I
the
had
face. That
done-
shit hurt.
I had to defend myself.
I'm not
I
even
had to
gonna
tell him
front.
so he
It
didn't
hurt.
think these things were true. And sometimes, he would shift accusations while I'm trying to dispel one accusation. He'd start another one. And
Really? Because that's not what the audio
nothing I could
tapes
do to
show.
calm him
I'm just
down.
saying.
It seemed like I'd walk away, and that would make it worse.
Oh, you
I
walked
remember
away.
in
Huh.
my apartment in Orange. He would grab me by the hair, or he'd grab me by the arm, pull me into him, scream at me that way. He'd smash things around me. Then he would smash things very close to me.
Yes,
It just hit
Vincent's
me,
missing. It's like she
and
watched
it
a
started with
Lifetime movie
slapping, and
where
it got
the real graphic
like
violence is
repetitive slaps where
edited
he'd
out,
hold
so you have
me,
to leave it to your
in a position and slap me
imagination.
multiple
And
times.
she's filling in
a
the
row.
holes.
Then it would be, eventually I later would either push him off of me, or I'd try to hit his hands away from me. I tried to, not
I'm sorry that
2012 so
happened
much.
to you,
At that
Sugar
time, I was
Beet.
mostly, my defense was, I'd go some other place. Like, I don't know how to describe that. I'd focus on something else. I'd stand up, look at him, try to stand up to him that way. Later, I adopted other kind of strategies to deal with it. But at the time, in 2012, he'd have this blowout, and then he would leave, disappear. And I'd be committed to not talking to him. I'm done with this relationship. I can't take it anymore. I said that so many times. And then he'd come back, clean and sober, telling me either he had a chip. He didn't have any chips, but he would say, I've gone to meetings. I have a sober companion now.
You see?
I'm doing this program.
It's
I'm reading
that
this, I'm
right
doing
there.
this. And he was done with drugs and alcohol for good this time.
Hold on a second. I got to
And
pause you.
Come back in my life, and
I
with the
can't.
combination of
That
him being
stupid
sober
pop-up.
and having gone through this horrible thing.
Dear
where I felt
Windows
like my
11,
heart ripped out of
this
my
is
chest,
the most
like,
ridiculous
relation-
place to put a menu. I hate, so annoying. All right. This is the difference between Johnny Depp's testimony and her testimony. When Johnny Depp spoke, he was hesitant, actually, to really say anything negative. It was difficult for him to do that. She starts talking about something, like he came back and he said that he'd gone to the through rehab or a program or a meeting, and he had a chip. He didn't have any chips. There's a disconnect right there. That's what's missing. He didn't have any chip. He didn't have a chip. It's like there's always a dig. Always. Yes. And okay, this is another thing that I will say. And I will remember how I was talking to you guys about that captive audience. Okay. I finished it. All right. The one about Steven Stainer. Okay. And they had the original kid who played Steven Stainer as a teenager, Corin Nemec. And there were audio tapes of Steven Stainer, and there were also, thank you so much, DTC Primetime. Let's see. I'm willing to give her the benefit of the doubt. I believe a lot of this is truthful, but much of it is embellished. Correct. I mean, give me just a second. I got to stay on this track. Okay. So anyway, there was, but I'm going to announce, but I'm going to talk about it. Okay. So they are talking about when Steven Stainer had to, for a long time, initially, he denied any abuse by, oh God, what was his name? Now I can't think of the guy that got him, that snatched him. Anyway, he denied he denied there was any abuse. Pictures were found, and he was confronted with the photographs, and that's when he had to admit it. So anyway, the first child that he ended up being the second child that he kidnapped. The trial that he went on, he was on trial for his kidnapping first. Steven Stainer's trial was second. Okay, but I remember watching and listening to the testimony. Dennis Parnell. Thank you, Molson Man. Dennis Parnell. All right. I remember watching Corin Nemec play Steven Stainer, because there's transcripts, but there's no audio. So I remember there might have been a little audio. Anyway, you could hear it in his voice. Okay. When he was testifying, he didn't want to talk about it. And there are interviews also that Steven Stainer gave, and he didn't want to talk about it. There's a hesitancy, and it's a brushing off, sort of like answering, hey, Smalls, answering the question real quick without getting into any detail, and then, trying to sort of say like, but I'm fine. You know what I mean? And there was an element of that to Johnny Depp's stories about the actual altercations between Amber Heard and himself. He didn't want to really, it was embarrassing, and it made him uncomfortable. She, on the other hand, the way that and this may be her, but there is just something about, I've never seen anybody behave this way. I've never seen somebody who's testified to actual trauma and is telling the truth about the trauma testify in the way that she has. Her whole, everything is off. I don't know where CJ is, Paige. We talked about, I was in her live earlier. She was like, yeah, I'm going to come. And it's late for her. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning, or almost 2 o'clock in the morning where she is. She's like 6 hours ahead of me. So I can't, I couldn't wait. And, if this is what I figure, that Amber Heard's going to be testifying tomorrow morning, right? So I'll just go live tomorrow morning, and hopefully CJ will join then. But okay, now to address DTC. I gave her the benefit of the doubt from the beginning. I was willing to listen to anything and everything that she had to say. And I could see where the defense was going as far as how they were going to begin to present their case by the evidence that the defense was putting up, exhibits that, particularly when they were cross-examining Johnny Depp. And then in the way that in the questions that they asked, so I kind of had an idea where they were going. But then, oh, you do? Now I feel silly. So, yeah, I don't know where she is, babe. So anyway, I can't keep track anyway. Okay, so now I forgot what I was saying. Oh, about the benefit of the doubt. But then the audio tapes came out. And it's not the long ones where there's a bunch of screaming and yelling and, all that. It's one phrase that she utters. And she tells him, basically in a nutshell, go ahead, tell the world that you're a domestic violence victim. Tell them and see if they believe you. Go tell the whole world, Johnny Depp, as a man and see if they believe you. And that's what did it for me. That's when I started being like, I had a feeling that something wasn't right, but that's when I knew something was absolutely not right. That's it. I don't care about the palette. I don't care about the other audio or the video where he's, listen, would I get crazy with the cabinets and start slamming them and breaking stuff? No. And you know why? Because I can't afford to replace them. Okay. It's not because I'm a great person and I have so much restraint. My restraint comes from the fact that I can't afford to be destructive and replace things. That's where my restraint comes from. Okay. Was he right for doing it? No. But everything else aside, all the affidavits, all the text messages where he called her the C word and, all that, none of that matters to me except for that one last part where she says, go ahead and tell them and see if they believe you. It's like that scene with Rose McGowan and what can I think today? Where she says, I did it. Jawbreaker. I did it. I killed Liz. I killed the teen dream. Deal with it. That's how it was for me. It was that moment. You know what I mean? That's what I think. And I agree. Yes, I think he did. I think that's what he saw. His dad hit the wall, not his mom. So that's what I think. But that right there when she said, go ahead, tell them, see if they believe you. That's when I knew something is definitely not right. It's nowhere near right. In fact, it's so not right. It would take the light from right 80 billion light years to get here because it's so far away from right. All right, here we go. Let's hear what she has to say. I wish she'd make that face again where she looks like Randall from Monsters, Inc.
Relationship ending is hard, I think, for anyone, but ending under that circumstance is really painful. And so when he'd come back, it would almost feel like a solution to that.
Yeah, I
feel
love that
great,
movie. It was a good movie.
Good again, and it would be.
And he was good in that for not speaking one word.
Then we'd be back in the good bubble, the warm glow. And eventually it'd get bored, and then I'd see him drinking again. When I started to get upset, noticing the pattern of the violence going with the drinking and drugs, then he started sneaking it. So it became less clear, and I'd have to look for clues as to what he was on. So I just knew how to react,
Oh, you're like
Johnny on
Steve?
speed is very different from
You're playing Blue's
Johnny on
Clues?
opiates. Johnny on opiates very different from Adderall and cocaine Johnny, which is very different from Quaaludes Johnny. But I had to get good at paying attention to the different versions.
Wait.
2012, I was in the beginning stages of this, just learning these patterns.
Did this girl just say Quaaludes? Do they even make Quaaludes anymore? Like actual Quaaludes? Is that even a thing? Oh, she's almost transformed into Randall. We just need her to bite that top lip. Then she'll be Randall for reals. Trying to scare children for they screams.
I was just learning that drinking kind of correlated with the violence.
Oh, yeah, we're just learning.
And did you confide in anyone?
I didn't think so,
about
Copacabana.
these issues you were having?
Wait, do they make them? Who are you? Yes, honey, to me?
She told anybody.
I don't know. Not in the USA. Okay.
Right. So did you tell anyone?
Yes, I did.
Who did you tell?
I told my therapist. I eventually told my mom.
And let's go ahead and take a look at Defendant's Exhibit 150.
Yes, let's.
150.
Come on, Michelle over there in the corner. Do your job. She said 150. Let's go.
Your Honor, I'm going to object on hearsay. Yeah.
I'm curious who we have today on testimony. Do we have Amber on MDMA, Amber on Adderall, Amber on Amber? That's every time I hear somebody say Quaaludes, Vincent's missing here. That's what I think of. Quaaludes. Meanwhile, Johnny Depp's over here like Dory. Just keep swimming, swimming, swimming. Just keep swimming. See, I've never taken MDMA. I don't know what that is. I've only ever taken ecstasy. I've only taken X. And the kind I took was in a pill and it was cut with heroin. It's a long time ago. Anaphylaxis. This is why people on luge shouldn't drive. I can totally fix it. My dad's got this ultimate set of tools. He's a TV repairman. We missed it because I was playing it too fast. But when she talked about the jar of cocaine, he had to cover his face, but he chuckled a lot, like and he mouthed the words, a jar of coke. It's a lot. I see. Thank you, DTC.
Why did you
I-
decide to confide in your
Like
mother
His professional.
about the issues you were having with Mr. Depp?
I think I felt safe talking to my mom because I
No,
knew that
not
she
yet,
understood
criminality.
these dynamics, and she wouldn't judge me for staying with him, for loving him, even though this was happening and was happening to me. I knew she would understand.
And when approximately did you start
You did weed. You
confiding in
took
your
weed
mom
once. You
about
took
your
a
issues
weed.
with Mr. Depp and the physical?
Just look at
abuse?
them tweets, boy.
Objection, hearsay, compound.
I sustain as a compound.
When did you start confiding in your mother about the abuse you were suffering at the hands of Mr. Depp?
I was confiding in her from the very beginning about the
I did one pot.
the psychological abuse, the kind of control, the disappearing, the not knowing where he was, then he'd come back and sometimes in the middle of the night, the constant accusations, like that sort of thing. I talked to her about probably from the very beginning. The fact that I was secret, I had to hide. I couldn't tell any of my friends that I was with him for a long time because he told me everyone would blame me for the split with him and his partner. So I had to kind of sneak around and kind of get brought to his house, typically in a secretive way, and then he'd come to mine in a secretive way, and it was just all very, so very isolating. And I confided with her at the very beginning on that sort of thing, and then later opened up to her about some of the violence. I did it gently,
That's
first
such
I
a
just wanted to have
weird
someone to
turn
talk
of
to about how
phrase.
scary it was. He is the rage and the uncontrolled.
I told my mom about the
violence,
abuse
rage
gently.
that this man had, and why it was
Objection,
pointed
Your
at
Honor,
me.
hearsay. May we approach?
Yeah, let's approach because this is bullshit. Here's the problem I'm having right here. I don't like when people who are not actually who are not actual intellectuals attempt to speak intellectually because they use adjectives wrong almost every single time. It would be different if she had said something like, I had to break the news to her gently. It was, I started to just little details and then over time, but she just Bruh, you can tell she's just trying to sound smart, and she's not. And I don't like it. It's very annoying. Just use smaller words, Amber. It won't hurt you. You sound dumber when you use the wrong word, especially if it's big and you use it incorrectly than you would if you just used a small word that you're 100%, hell, even 99% confident in the meaning. Just calm down. It's very hard for some people, it's very annoying to me. Just stop trying to sound intellectual. Listen, I know what it feels like to be pretty but you're also actually smart, and people, the first thing that they recognize about you is that you are a pretty girl. I know what that feels like. You know what I didn't do? Use words incorrectly. So what I would do is thank you for the compliment, and then I would speak like I had intelligence. So then my looks were not something that people noticed as much, like new people. I mean, people have eyes, I can't help that. But I'm just saying, like, I would rather have been known as smart than pretty. So then what you do is you actually get smart. You don't just try to sound smart and try to come off as an intellectual. Amber Heard. This is why you ruined The Stand, lady. If you'd have read the book, you probably could have done better. Ugh. That's exactly why he's stuck to literate. He could have said any number of qualities, what they had, well, they were, hold on, this is over. Yeah. He could have said any number of adjectives, we shared books in common. She has an incredibly quick sense of humor. She's very dry and sarcastic, and her that's what I liked about her, was that she could, have a quick comeback, and it would make me laugh every single time. But no, what does he say? She literate. Great. She can read. That's perfect. Like, ugh. I don't know let me see if I can find part 2. Give me a second, because Long Crime only had part 1 up. She just gets on my nerves. She's just not acting like, I try to stay away from saying things like, that's not how I would act, or that's not how people act in that situation. And to some extent, not everybody reacts the same way to to the same thing, right? But there are lots of commonalities in domestic violence victims. There are really Long Crime, so rude. They only have part 1 up, unless I want to scroll through the whole 7 hours, which I don't. Let me just look this way. Anyway. They've broken it down like into 11 billion little tiny clips. Okay, Long Crime, will play your way. Wait, what? Really? Hold on, give me a second. I'll find it for you guys. Oh, we're a little bit too far. Okay. This is as close as I can get it because I don't really like the way that YouTube lets you or doesn't let you. All right, hold on. Sorry, you guys. I'm going to speed her up because some of this we've already heard. Plus, she annoys me. All right, here we go.
I had to get good at paying attention to the different versions of him. 2012, I was in the beginning stages of this, just learning these patterns. I was just learning.
Hey, Heather, whatever. Good to see you. Night, Copa.
And did you confide in anyone about these issues you were having? I think she can
Objection
say
to
if she,
hearsay.
I think she can say if she told anybody.
I mean, she can. She just can't say what she told them.
Right, right. So did you tell anyone?
Yes, I did.
Who did you tell?
I told my therapist. I eventually told my mom.
I
And
still
let's,
can't
let's
believe
go
she
ahead and
blamed
take
the
a look
dog.
at, Defendant's Exhibit 150.
Those poor dogs.
150.
Oh, this is where we were at.
Your Honor, I'm going to object on hearsay.
I'm going to inject on all of this because you're wasting the court's time. I thought we agreed that your team was going to be more respectful of the court's time has heard because for real, it's like, this is so, I'm sure that's real intellectual. She keeps trying to catch his eye, but he is like, Nerp. And you know what? I was just thinking something. I'm going to tell you. You guys have no idea what I was thinking unless you know. Like you can read my mind. I doubt you can't. I don't even know what's going on in my mind 98% of the time. But anyway, you know how she made that comment about Johnny was like mirroring or parroting his dad's twang? Where's your twang, Amber? My fellow Texan? Where's your twang? Man, like, and can you blame him? Don't make eye contact. No sudden movements. You got to treat people like that like T-Rex, right? No eye contact. Don't make any movement. All that. In the basement with Pee Wee Herman's bike. Is that where it's at? She is like a T-Rex. Although they say that they changed their mind now that T-Rex is less of like an apex predator and more like a scavenger. Apparently the real threat in the dinosaur kingdom are the velociraptors. Bro, what are you doing? This is why I don't like this. Can't they clip this part out for the impatient folks? It's me. I'm the impatient folks. Like, what are you guys discussing? What you're going to take on your vacay, Judge? Which is why we're not going to have court next week.
Why did you decide to confide in your mother?
Because that's my
about the issues
mama.
you were having with Mr. Depp.
I think I felt safe.
It ain't
talking
live
to
now,
my
though,
mom
Lycan.
because
That's my
I
point.
knew that she understood these dynamics and she wouldn't judge me for staying with him, for loving him, even though
Remember Meet the
this was happening
Robinsons?
and was happening to me.
I got a big
I knew she
head
would
and
understand.
little
And
arms.
when
This was not a
approximately
good
did you start
plan.
Confiding in your mom about your issues with Mr. Depp and physical.
All right, Carla,
Abuse.
thanks for being
Objection,
here.
hearsay, compound.
I sustain as a compound.
I'd rather be here too than teaching.
When did you start confiding in your mother about the abuse you were suffering at the hands
Like,
of
and
Mr. Depp?
stop being reasonable. Let me have my petulant moment.
Well,
I will, Carla,
was
I
confiding in her
promise.
from the very beginning about the
Right after this.
abuse, the psychological abuse, the kind of control, the disappearing, the not knowing where he was, then he'd come back, and then sometimes in the
This is
middle
why
of the night,
nobody's going
the
to take
constant
me
accusations,
seriously
like that sort
for
of thing.
true
I
crime
talked to her
because
about
I
probably from the very beginning. The fact that I was secret, I had to hide.
break out obscure
couldn't tell
movie
any of my
lines.
friends that I was with him for a long time because he told me everyone would blame me for the split with him and his partner. So I had to kind of sneak around and kind of get brought
I'm
to his
gonna,
house.
do it
typically
at the same time
in
tomorrow,
a
Carla.
secretive
But
way,
I'm
and then he'd come
also
to mine in a
gonna
secretive way, and it was just all
go
very,
live in
you
the
know, so
morning
very
and talk
isolating.
live with
And,
y'all. That's my
I
favorite.
confided with her
So I can
at the
get
very beginning
really
on that
outraged at
sort
the
of thing, and then
sidebars.
later opened up to her about some of the violence. I did it gently. You know, first I just wanted to have someone to talk to about how scary it was. You know, he'd
What are you talking about?
the
Like, and
rage
of course you
and
can have the sense of humor. You
uncontrolled
have to.
violence, the rage that this man had, and why it was
Objection,
pointed
Your
at
Honor,
me.
hearsay. May we approach, please?
Oh, for Pete's sake, here we go. Yeah, you have to have, well, I have to have a sense of humor. This is like some dark stuff. Can you imagine if I stayed dark all the time, what a miserable life I would have? Because I actually am fascinated by the messed up things humans do to one another. And I don't know why I'm fascinated and I can't get enough of it. But if I didn't crack a joke every once in a while,
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and take our 15-minute afternoon break. So please do not talk about the case. We're doing the outside research. Okay, we'll see you soon.
yeah, and that includes your friends, Amber. Tell them not to be trolling the Twitters and reporting back to you, Eve Barlow. Ooh, that's excellent.
Just a reminder that now that you're on the stand, you cannot discuss your testimony with anybody to include your attorneys, okay? All right, so we'll be back. Let's make it 3:45, okay?
Or your friends on the Twitters and the Instagrams. And I know you're not coming back to the Tickety Talks, as they won't have you over in the TikToks, Amber Heard. Do you know I was monkeying around on the Googles not that long ago, and I don't even know what. Oh, I know what it was. So there was a picture of Johnny Depp sitting outside the courthouse, like in the back area or whatever, and there were like where they keep the metal picnic tables to remind you that you're in you're in an institution, and I was looking at his shoes because there was something about the soles of his shoes that just didn't look quite right to me, right? So here I go being nosy, and I zoomed in, and y'all, I think that Johnny Depp might wear lifts. So I've only seen shoes like that one other time, and it's somebody caught a photo of Robert De Niro in them when he was wearing his lifts. Yeah, and so then I was oddly intrigued by this, and I thought to myself, I have got to find out more, right? So then I really hit the Googles, and there is some how do I put this? Not everybody agrees on Johnny Depp's actual height. It's listed as 5'10", but people say that he is closer to 5'7", which also then made me he's very cute, but yeah, it makes you taller, Molson man. So then I was looking at, so then I started thinking about it, because remember when Amber Heard's attorney said that he was much bigger than Amber, And Johnny kind of like chuckled, and I couldn't figure out why he would chuckle at that, because it was the way he did it. And now I'm thinking 5'7" might be accurate. I don't care how tall he is. I'm not a like a height snob. That's not important to me, because I'm not a real tall girl myself. I'm only 5'4". I'm average. Really, at playback at 2 times, it's still just taking 5 ever. It's only a 15-minute break. Let's see. Oh my God.
Relationship with Mr. Depp during that.
I'm leaving it. No, I'm not messing with it. Lycan. It's not about what is the saying? It's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the crazy in the dog. Know what I mean? Also, he's 58 years old. I'm pretty sure there would be some additional charges. And I'm looking at him now that I've been thinking about it this whole time, because you guys know I can't focus on any single thing for too long. It's too much for me. Johnny Depp is standing next to his attorney, right? And you see he is significantly shorter. Hold on. Then
All right, thank you. Please be
that's
seated.
my
Next
thing
question.
is in
Thank you, Your
an unfortunate.
Remember,
Let me
you took
take
March
that
of
down.
2013.
Oh, wait.
Can you describe
much
your
speed,
relationship with
too
Mr.
much
Depp
speed.
during that month? And we'll start there.
I got into
I
Johnny's
remember,
box. My
it
bad,
was
my
after a
bad, my
period
bad.
of it was after a period of some peace, and then and sobriety. Johnny was sober, drinking Becks, and my dad, who was struggling with alcohol and drug addiction at the time, had fallen off the wagon, and I remember he said, "Why don't we I want to send a picture to your dad of support," because my sister was upset with my dad, and so he poured a shot and kind of said, "Let's take a picture." I don't drink spirits, but I know that, I kind of held up in that picture. It's kind of eerie because I just think it's bizarre. He had broken this long period of sobriety that I thought was going to be the end of him drinking forever.
So you thought it was bizarre,
Sounds
not
foolish
sad?
now, but I held up this kind of glass with him, and we sent the picture to my dad because I didn't know what else to do. And I remember thinking it was weird that he was drinking, and then the month got really crazy from that point on. It was a bit of a revolving door of accusations. He was accusing me of having affairs with, frankly, just one person. I had an acquaintance with somebody, and he was accusing me of being with them, and then he was accusing me of being with my friend, the one I had seen in Spain. I'm, in these kind of arguments, nothing I do is working. Walking out of the room is me leaving him, walking away from me. Hey, where are you going? I'm talking to
Really?
you.
Because
it went from
all
that
the
to
audio is
pulling
you
me
hollering
in
about
by my
walking
arm,
away.
still shouting at me about the accusations. I'm trying to diffuse the situation by trying to tell him I'm not sleeping with this person and I'm not sleeping with that person.
Yeah, I
and
can
it was
tell in those
kind of,
audio
as soon as
tapes.
it
That's
seemed
a
as though
real.
I
You
had
should
convinced him
be.
of one,
Have you considered
there
a
was somebody
career
else
in
he
the
was sure I
UN?
was sleeping with, and it was a revolving door at the time. A painting I had hanging on the wall.
You mean like
done
the
by my
time you
ex,
were
who's an artist.
smuggling
That
in
was one
James
day
Franco?
He was
like
convinced
that?
that was proof I was sleeping with her or having an affair with her. I didn't really love him, and all the while I'm madly in love with him and trying to convince him. So March started with this picture of him.
I'm not even
doing a shot, and he's
convinced
kind of saying, "Let's send
that
it to your
you're
dad to show support."
madly
And
anything with
what I
him.
remember of March is just
I'm not even convinced that
like an
you're
almost
even actually
it's almost like it was
testifying
a
to
never-ending
anything
fight.
that
It was
actually
just there were
happened to
breaks in it.
you.
What kept me
Ever.
in it is because I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, the sobriety shoe, if you will. I kept waiting for
The sobriety shoe.
to the point where it's not supportable or anymore, and he's done with it and he's ready to get clean and sober again, because there commences a period of like pure joy. And it was one fight after the other. March.
So let me start with the painting incident. Please tell the jury what happened on that particular incident with the painting.
Oh, you mean
as I
the time
mentioned,
you chunked
the painting, which
mineral
had been hanging
spirits?
there for
Oh no, this is a different
months.
time.
One day he kind of stayed up doing cocaine, just drinking, doing cocaine, music, which is not in and of itself that weird in my relationship with Johnny at this point. Like he stays up and keeps weird hours and smokes and stuff. But he was drinking
Smokes and
brown
stuff.
liquor and doing a lot of cocaine, and it was like it became clear to me in that argument, if you will, that he wasn't making sense. He had effectively just taken, it seemed like, a turn and had decided that the painting was an offense that he could not forgive me for. It meant I was having an affair with my ex-partner, with whom I'd already split, and it made no sense to me. So I'm trying to kind of quell the accusations by saying, it's been there, and what are you talking about? And it's like, that doesn't mean anything. And, he was demanding I take it down. He eventually takes it down and tries to burn it, but was unsuccessful, luckily, because he wasn't with one of those normal, what do you call them, thick lighters. He wasn't very successful at doing it while drinking, to the extent he was. But I remember it was this kind of,
Okay,
ridiculous
I'm going to
fight.
stop
Didn't
you
feel like it
right
needed
there.
to be
I have been in
an argument,
very,
but it seemed
let
like
me
nothing I
just
could
push
do,
pause
nothing I
because
could
you
say.
need to hear me here, Amber. This is important. I have been in various states of sobriety drinking, right? Obviously, I started out sober, and after a while, I'm less sober and less sober, right? Until then, I get to the point where I've been overserved. If he had wanted to light the painting on fire and be successful, he literally had alcohol. Why didn't he just pour the alcohol on it? See, there's things about people, even when they're messed up or drunk, as it were, there's some senses that don't leave you. Like, I don't know how to successfully burn some shit down. This is why we don't be believing you, Amber Heard, because you are a lying liar mouth who tells lies and a terrible actress. And again, you ruined The Stand. I can't stress that enough.
Tried leaving. I left the room. I left the house. I eventually came back. It was like a whole night of an evening, a night, and then a morning of this. So this morning in particular, I think it was the 22nd of March. There were several incidents in March though.
March was a wild month, was it?
He was filming with Keith Richards and Tom Waits.
Well, let me, before you go into that part, let's pull up Defendant's Exhibit 161, which is already admitted into evidence, I believe, Your Honor.
I don't think you should tell Amber,
Thank
let's
you.
pull up. Amber seems like she fucking pulls up.
And I'm going to show you Defendant's Exhibit 161.
I'm not going to talk for a
And
minute.
the
I'm
date
going
on
to
this
have
is
to excuse myself.
3/12/2013, and it's a text exchange between you.
I need to have a
and Mr. Depp. You
cigarette.
see that?
And
You
I
do?
don't care who
Okay.
knows it.
And the
She's
first
just
one is
making
from
me
you to Mr.
annoyed.
Depp. Just thought you should know.
I
there exists
never
a book.
smoke on camera.
Is that to you? Is it to Mr. Depp from you, or it's vice
What am
versa?
I getting a
it's
trunk
Johnny
trophy
texting me.
for?
Just thought you should know there exists a book titled Disco Bloodbath. And then you say, we need that book. And you say, is this about last Friday night by any chance? And he says, how can you make me smile about such a hideous moment? And I'm not going to repeat the rest of it.
Did you guys
could tell
commit
the
a
jury what
murder
happened on
together?
that
Because
Friday
that's
night?
what the book is about.
There were, like I said, there was a few different
Oh,
incidents in March. I believe
I
this
have
one
all
happened
kinds of them,
in the
Tony.
Eastern Columbia building, which is one of Johnny's penthouses. They're in downtown, so a different part of Los Angeles. And we'd sometimes go there. I remember he was accusing me again of sleeping with this artist, this musician who I'd never slept with. I was
No,
denying
because
it.
you were
I barely knew the
sleeping
person.
with
And then
somebody
he was
else at
accusing
the
me of-
time that
of
was
sleeping with
also
my
not
friend
Johnny
in
Depp.
Spain. And I remember nothing I could do. He called this person on the phone and screamed at him.
You going to be having this
He
person
didn't
testify?
Speak English, so he was really confused as to what he was being yelled at by Johnny.
How'd you?
But I remember those are the accusations. That was the fight. But it was one to the next accusation. And
I'll be
I
right
remember I was
back.
kind of doing that juggling act. I was in one of these fights. I believe it's this one in his downtown ECB. We call it loft, and we're in the kitchen living room area. And he backhands me, and it was he wears a lot of rings. I remember kind of just feeling like my lip went into my teeth, and it got a little blood on the wall. Just that simple, a little bit of blood on the wall. As hard as it is to explain this, I was so caught up in the relationship and also very occupied in defending what I only could assume he believed, these accusations, that I didn't internalize, I didn't make that big of a deal of it. I kind of pride myself on being tough, and I don't make a big deal out of smaller injuries. And I know that sounds horrible and hard maybe to understand, but my best way to cope with it is I kind of minimize it, make sure no one make sure he knows that I'm tough and can't knock me down, and I make a joke of it. Clearly make light.
I'm going to, Michelle, if you can take this one down and bring up 170A. Did there come a time in March Amber, where you sent a picture to your mom?
Yes, this is sometime in March 2013. I sent it to her because I'd been texting about some of the craziness, and
Objection, hearsay.
I'll sustain as to what she may have texted. All right, next question.
Without saying what you said in the text, explain why you were sending it to your mom.
I was reaching out. I was very lonely in what I was living in, and I wanted help. I wanted advice, help. I just wanted to talk to somebody and figure out how I could make this stop.
And is this a picture that you took of yourself in March of 2013?
I did.
Your Honor, I'm going to move the admission of Defendant's Exhibit 178.
Any objection?
No objection,
All
Your
right,
Honor.
178 in evidence. You can publish the picture.
Thank you, Your Honor. And how did you sustain that bruise, Amber?
I had thrown Johnny slapped me. I walked away from him, and that made it worse. We got into like a shouting match. And he kind of did this thing with his body where I could tell he's going to hit me again. I picked up I remember kind of like a little pot, not a pot, but like a vase. And I remember I got away from him enough as he reels back. I threw it in his direction and actually managed to get away before he got me. He grabbed me by the arm, and he kind of just held me on the floor, screaming at me. I don't know how many times he hit me in the face, but I remember being on the floor in my apartment, and I remember thinking, how could this happen to me again?
Can you bring up 170? Thank you, Michelle. And if we can, and just to start, it's 3/23/2013. If we can scroll up. This is a text message exchange with your mom, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, let's go. Scroll down.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to hearsay.
Let's wait until we get to the spot. All right, and is this the picture that you sent to your mom on 3/23/2013?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, I'm going to move the admission of 170, just that picture that's on the text.
With no words?
Well, it says from 2 weeks ago on it.
Your Honor.
I'll sustain the objection.
If we redact the from 2 weeks ago, can we admit it then? And then just have the showing that she sent it to her mom?
Maybe
for the
approach,
date?
Your Honor.
All right, 170 will be in evidence with redactions.
And may we publish to the jury, please? And that's the picture you sent to your mom
Yes, it is.
on March 23rd, 2013.
Yes, it was from a previous fight.
Okay.
The bruise.
All right. Now, did you have any other altercations in March 2013 with Mr. Depp?
Yes, we had a couple of these fights in Orange that were around this time, one of which I started to tell you about the painting.
You know, and I know I've interrupted you now twice on that, but I realize the jury doesn't. Can you tell them what you mean by Orange at Orange?
Sorry, Orange was my apartment that I kept in Los Angeles at the time.
And it was an apartment. What type of an apartment?
I rented the top of a duplex. So it was a house with the landlord living on the bottom floor. I rented the top floor.
Okay. Thank you. Now, please continue with the painting. I'm sorry.
It seemed like nothing I could say to Johnny would convince him. He wanted me to remove the painting. And he wanted me to admit to this affair that I wasn't having. And I didn't want to admit to it because it's not true. So I held out, and he just drank more and did more cocaine. And I woke up the next morning, I think it was on the 22nd or the 23rd. I woke up in the morning and the breakfast table was like cocaine and booze. And I realized that I wasn't going to be able to talk I wasn't going to be able to talk our situation down. I wasn't going to be able to talk him out of it. And he was just so convinced that I was fighting with him or at the reason that he wouldn't leave the house, and he had something to go film that was important, and there were important people waiting for him. And I remember people were reaching out, his assistants, his manager sister, everyone was wondering where he was. And I kept feeling embarrassed and unable to move this person out of my house. I couldn't calm him down. I couldn't change. He was just so intent on me admitting the details of this affair that I wasn't having. And me pointing out that the cocaine wasn't making his situation any better made me the bad cop. Then I'm the nag. So eventually I called my sister. He had a kind of a buddy-buddy relationship with her at the time. And at the time, she occasionally did cocaine. I didn't, but she did. So I was like, hey, come take over. Maybe you can buddy him and talk him into leaving the house, just getting out of the house. And she did. I remember his assistants trying to get him out. Like eventually in the evening, I think early evening, he finally agrees to leave, but I can't tell our relationship status. I can't tell if he still is convinced of these things or if he's just going to sleep it off and it's going to go back to normal sobriety, sorry kind of phase. And he was still upset, but like seemingly calming down. So I agreed to go with him. He wanted me to go to the shoot. I had plans, so I kind of reluctantly agreed, but didn't want to set anything off. I didn't want to engage anymore. I didn't want to do anything that could be perceived as antagonizing him or engaging more. So I went with him. We grabbed the dogs. We get in the car. We're on the way there. We're headed up. Sweetser's the street. It's a major street that leads up to Johnny's houses. He effectively owns the end of the street. It's like a cul-de-sac. So we're nowhere near his home, but we were driving up this street, and he has a window down. He's smoking. It wasn't all the way down, but he's constantly smoking. And at some point he starts howling out of the window and then grabs two small dogs. Well, one was Johnny's dog and one was my dog, but he grabs, if I remember correctly, Boo, his dog, slightly chunkier teacup Yorkie, and he grabs this teacup Yorkie and holds Boo out of the window of the moving car. And he's howling like an animal while holding the dog out of the window. And everyone in the car, I'll never forget it, everyone just froze. No one did anything. And I too was like torn as to what I should do.
Did she just
because
body
I didn't
shame
want
a
to do anything to cause him to
Yorkie?
react, drop the dog.
Is that
You
what
know, it
she
was this
just did?
Eerie moment where he's howling and holding this animal outside of the car window. And more than that weird memory is I have a memory of everyone just kind of not really reacting to him. Like no one really kind of did anything. I eventually kind of pulled his arms gently back into the
So now
vehicle
your dog is
and
better than
kind of
his
got the
dog
back
because
on the
your
seat
dog
and
is
we
slightly
continued
less
driving, but no
chunky.
one reacted.
You're too much, Amber.
Just kind of avoided dealing with it. We get to the house where he was filming this thing that he was late for, I suppose, for the day. And we walk in. Meanwhile, I've been bombarded by text messages and calls and conversations with everyone seemingly so stressed about.
Objection, hearsay.
Yes. Who were these people, Amber? When Johnny Depp tells his stories, he can rattle off a
I
whole
understood
list of
everyone was
names.
stressed. They seemed stressed to me about the tardiness. Where is he? Let's get him there, so we get in there. And no one reacts when we get in. I mean, we walk into this house where everyone was waiting for him and everyone smiles and says, hey, boss.
Objection, hearsay.
Okay, sorry. Let's, Michelle, can we pull up 167A? I think
Bless you, Chick. It's late where you are, babe.
167B is already in, right? Oh, it's A. Okay, then go ahead and pull up A. Does your honor show that one to be in 167A? Defendants, sorry.
Well, this might be your 167A, but it's in evidence as a plaintiff's number. I'm not sure which plaintiff's number it is. I don't need it in twice, so.
I would agree.
Your Honor, I don't think it's this version of the photograph that's been admitted. So it's
a
a
different version.
it's a
Same
different-
photograph, but a little different. Is that what we're?
It's not the same photograph.
Okay, not the same.
Well,
Then we'll go with it. What
Okay.
number is it?
Do you recognize this photo?
Yes, I do.
Please tell the jury what it is.
It's a picture I took of my breakfast table that morning.
Your Honor, I'm going to move the admission of Defendant's Exhibit 167A.
167A. Any objection?
Something
maybe
tells
approach-
me that if Johnny Depp lured you to the car with candy, it'd be some damn good candy. I'm just saying. Like not the stuff at the grocery store in those bins that, you have to scoop out and you don't know because you're a little nervous about it because, you don't know how other people's hygiene is. So you don't want to eat it. And you also don't know how long it's been there. Not that kind of candy, like good candy. Hey, Mrs. O, good to see you, babe.
Remember, you said that you took this that morning. Is that
Yes.
correct? Could you tell the jury what the box is that has the property with the skull bones, property of JD?
That's Johnny's drug box. I've seen it used for pills, but at the time it was bags of coke. like bags of coke.
Oh, dime
And
bags
what are
of
these
Coke.
white
Huh,
lines on the
interesting.
table To the left of that box.
That is cocaine.
Okay. Um,
Sounds so
and do
uneducated
you know
about
what is in
drugs,
these
but
two
knows the
glasses that
difference.
have kind of a gold
Notices
colored liquor?
knows the
Yes,
sizing
they're
of the
different, actually. It's
bags.
confusing. They're different. Different liquids. The one in the back in the larger glass is, I believe at the time I was doing these tabs, or Baroka, that's what they're called. They're little tablets. And
I bet you were doing tabs.
anyway, I remember at the time that's what I was putting in my water because I just come back from France where they sell them. And then the brown liquid in the shot glass is Johnny's liquor. I don't know what it's called, but we kept it in the freezer. At the time, it was at that time, March 2013, I hadn't, I still didn't have the, hard line. I won't even keep that, in my freezer sort of attitude or posture with him. I wasn't that bold at the time, I didn't like it, but I didn't have that strength. I kind of, at that time, I think was doing things like trying to pour it out when I could.
So what is the bag, the brown bag on the left side? What is that?
That's a DOP kit. It's like, his prescriptions and cigarette, tobacco, weed, things like that.
Okay, and then above it, there appears to be a CD of some sort, DVD, something. Do you recognize that?
Yes, it's the single, I believe is what it's called, the single he was making at the time. I think that's the song that they were filming a video for, if I'm correct.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
all right. Now, did you
You're
end
so
up sending
helpful.
a copy of this picture to Rocky Pennington that day?
I did. I sent it to my best friend at the time, and I was like, look at my morning.
Objection, hearsay.
Okay, you can't say what you said, but you sent it to your friend, correct?
I
Let's
sent
go
it
to
to my friend.
167, please. And is that the email in which you sent this picture to Rocky Pennington on 3/22,
Yes.
2013? You're gonna like move the admission of the
Also,
picture with the redaction of
just the
domestic
ladies
violence,
in the house,
with the
please. I have a
top-
question.
with identifier redactions.
How,
and take out the rest.
many of you
All right, any objection?
No objection.
would
All right, so
know
redactions,
for
67 evidence
certain
redactions.
if your husband preferred a specific liquor, right? How many of you ladies, put a 1 in the chat if you, I hate doing this, but put a 1 in the chat because I'm too lazy for a poll, would know
All right.
your
And
husband's
name and
liquor,
purpose, please.
what it was called.
All right, and is this the text message, the email that you sent to Rocky with this picture?
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm going to take you to,
Somebody you were madly in love with. Thank you.
let's go to Hicksville.
Oh, now we're on to
Let's tell the jury
Hicksville,
about
y'all.
Hicksville,
That's
May
what y'all want to hear.
2013. Can you tell the jury what transpired at Hicksville?
It is it's a like a fancy trailer park, like a little hotel in the middle of nowhere, set up with these little trailers. And
Okay.
we had made
Me too.
a plan to go there with friends. And
I wouldn't be
we were gonna
like,
do,
I didn't know
you
what
know,
it
like
was called.
laffy, as we said, laffy drugs like mushrooms, eat mushrooms, sit by a campfire. There's really not a whole lot else to do
Laffy
out there. It's like a
drugs?
getaway.
There's
we
nothing
made this
else but to
plan.
do laffy
And
drugs.
it was going fine. It was like a, kind of like party out in the desert with a few friends and campfire and music. And I don't know who somebody brought MDMA. It was being passed around, and somebody who took it kind of was starting to feel the effects of it, I guess is the best way to describe. She kind of reacted in this way where when the MDMA hit her, she kind of, we were sitting around a campfire, all of us, and she kind of just leaned into me and put her, head on my shoulder and kind of grabbed my arm. I took it, to be the effects of the drug.
Exactly, Tony.
And I think I had eaten a mushroom cap, but was not feeling anything at the time. I don't remember feeling anything because the night just kind of changed pretty dramatically before I really felt anything of the effects of that. But that was the environment we were in. And as soon as she kind of did this thing where she leaned into me, Johnny gets really activated. He gets really upset, and he starts. Well,
Activated.
at first, she thought he was getting it too.
my
She thought it was
God, I'm
a
so
joke. I think we
done.
all did. Everyone kind of responded at first, that like it was a joke. But he was like, "Hey man, what are you doing? What do you think you're doing?" And she kind of giggled and kind of leaned into me more. And I knew in my body just instantly that it wasn't a joke, but she didn't. So she's kind of still attached to my arm when he says again to her louder. He says, "Hey man, you think you're touching my fucking girl? You think you're touching my fucking girl? That's my fucking girl." And he gets louder and louder, and she kind of did this thing, half understanding what was going on. I think she kind of started to cry at this point, but she kind of threw up her hands, and Johnny grabbed her wrist and kind of twisted it
Oh,
and pulled her into him and said, "Do you know how many pounds of pressure it takes to break a human wrist?"
how many?
And he kind of held her, and she just looked frozen. And
Like, what the
she's crying and
frack?
it was just
Fight mode
denying,
activated. Like, what are
understanding
you
what was going
talking
on. I
about?
stepped in. I kind of take Johnny's arm around and take Johnny's hand and kind of, we start communicating. I don't remember if he immediately was accusing me
I
or if it
never
was
can do the
sometime
math
after. I
right,
wish I remembered,
Kez
but
chick.
we agreed that we'd go and talk about it in the trailer.
I'm the worst.
So we walked to the trailer.
I know that the UK
and
is 6
when we're
hours
in the
ahead,
trailer,
but
Johnny-
you're in
by the time we get
you're
into the
you're in
trailer, Johnny
Australia,
tells
so
me
you're like a
that
whole day ahead.
I had been instigating the, in asking for this, and that I had invited it, and that I hadn't been honest with him about my relationship with this woman. And I didn't really know her that well. I mean, I actually don't know her at all, but I had met her. And I remember in the trailer, he's accusing me of lying about it, and that I, that I had something with her.
It's
I'm confused
interesting
I'm
that
trying to
you
calm him
bring
down,
random
and,
people with you
he
to do
just
laffy
turned all
drugs
that,
in the
it seemed like he turned all
desert
that rage onto the trailer
with
itself.
Johnny Depp, who's in a
And started smashing
high-profile
things.
actor.
He
How
picked
did
up
you
something
know
on the
she
table,
wouldn't
threw it right
snitch
into
y'all
Jeff's
out?
cabinet.
That's why
He
this
hit with
story
his
makes
hand,
no sense.
a wall sconce. He cleared the tabletop on the little fold down, like kitchen dining room area in this trailer. I mean, it's a trailer, so there's only so much you can do. And he's screaming at me, screaming at me.
Screaming at me.
And I eventually go back into the bedroom area. He comes into the bedroom area.
It's a
We had
trailer. Stop.
what I can only
Come
describe
on.
as it sounded like nonsense from him. It wasn't making sense. And I realized that he's just probably really high.
Oh,
Because
but
it
your
wasn't making
shroom
sense
hadn't
anymore. It
kicked
wasn't
in
like a
yet.
direct accusation. He wasn't
I
hearing me
see.
when I was saying.
Okay.
I wasn't involved. Wasn't cheating on him. I wasn't secretly trying to engage this woman in some sort of sexual affair.
It's like a
then
light,
it became clear to me he was like
Smalls.
looking for something. He
So the
cleared things off the
gibberish
bed.
wasn't
I
because
went into the bathroom.
the shroom you had
And as I
dropped
come out,
had kicked in. It was because
he asked
his-
me where it is
I see. Okay.
and how long I've been hiding it. And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he says, "You know what I'm fucking talking about. You know what I'm fucking talking about. Be honest
Yeah,
with me."
Tony, how do you know she wasn't the feds? How
Where
do
are
you
you
know
hiding
she
it?
wasn't the
And he kinda, like,
feds?
makes
What's
to look
wrong
into
with
the
y'all?
bathroom. And I gestured to the bathroom, which was to my right. I kind of like gestured to him and I said, like, what am I, what am I hiding and where am I going to hide it? And we're standing in this little hallway area outside of the bathroom and he starts
In this little hallway
he was,
area.
like, patting me down,
It's
saying
a
he's patting me down. I can't recall,
trailer,
but
y'all.
he ripped my dress, the top part of my dress. I had just dyed this thing myself pink. And
Oh,
It's one of those
and
things
you're
I-
like a little
that's
clothing
just
maker.
finished that dress. And he's like grabbing my breasts. He's touching my thighs. He rips my underwear off.
Oh,
And then he proceeds to do a cavity search. He said he was looking for his drugs, his cocaine, his coke. I was wondering how somebody
This
didn't
took a
do
turn.
cocaine and was against it. That was in and of itself causing problems in our relationship. How could I hide? Why would I hide his drugs from like he was insinuating that I was doing it or something? It made no sense. And he was telling me we're gonna conduct a cavity search, shall we? Like, just shoved his fingers inside me. I just stood there staring at the stupid light. I didn't know I didn't know what to do. I just stood there. While he did that, he just twisted his fingers around. I didn't say like stop or anything.
So the next morning, what transpired?
I remember thinking that Johnny would.
hold on. I want to say something before we
Change his mind?
continue because this was a lot. I need a
And it would
moment.
be
Now, first of all, I kept seeing little clips, like the titles of clips about this, but I wasn't like, I guess I wasn't paying it. I guess I didn't think it was going to be this. All right. So, I want you guys to know that this is what I find interesting about all of this. Johnny Depp knew this was going to come out. He knew she was going to tell this story. Whether it happened or not, that's not even what I'm discussing. He knew that she was going to tell this story. And yet he still did this. Let that sink in. Well, I didn't see your trigger, sugar beet. Y'all know that you can't come to the ward and expect no damn ass trigger warnings, because I'm always late to the game on these trigger warnings. And something else I want to say. Her affect is weird. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm just going to leave it at that for now, because I'm going to let her continue before I change my mind.
Yeah, I thought it would end differently. I kind of froze. I don't know how.
Ooh, Heather, whatever.
bed that night.
NK's
I don't know
probably
how I
out
went
in
to
the
bed. I don't
desert
know
with
how I
her
slept. I don't
rocks
know how I woke
again,
up.
or
I
stones,
don't
or whatever,
remember
crystals.
having a conversation with him the next day. I
Not
don't
knowing what
remember,
she's doing, messing up stuff for
talking
everybody.
to him about it or confronting him about it. I remember wanting it to be okay. I remember just wanting whatever fucking weird trip, whatever trip that was to end, just to be over and for it to just go back to normal. And I remember my friends were out by the pool. Like there was a pool in the center of the trailer park, and I remember putting on my, just putting on my face and going back into this like crap, and I remember
The
seeing my
real
friends
Amber
by the
came
pool
out
thinking
there
they were
when
just
she
having a
dropped
great
that
time, and no
F-bomb.
one knew what was, I felt so lonely, like no one knows everyone's just having a good time, like normal stuff. So I just smiled, made a joke about how trash the trailer got, and we had to get the manager, who started off furious that Johnny had wrecked the thing. And then he had this like black mesh tank top, not tank top, it was like a meshy kind of shirt on. And I remember he came into the trailer and looked around and was like, whoa, what happened here? Whoa. And Johnny had an exchange with him. And I remember watching this man be so charmed. It was just a kind of a surreal experience. And, it just went away. That just got fixed. We walked out of the trailer at some point. My dog stepped on a bee.
Hey, Molson man.
And went on with our, vacation. We actually went to another location after that, and then eventually went home and went about our,
I'm going to ask you to take a look. Michelle, can you bring up Defendant's Exhibit 176?
Mm-mm-mm.
Hicksville was in May of 2013. Did there come a time that you wrote an email?
Objection, leading and hearsay, Your Honor. May we approach?
all right.
Oh my God, we're approaching again? Hell, I don't know if I can make it. We still have like an hour left to go. I'm telling y'all right now, I'm good for like about no more minutes. I'm done. That's the thing. It's so weird that I always find it interesting when people add in details that really are irrelevant to the overall scheme of the story, the plot line. So
In
obviously,
June 2013.
just
how
excuse
were you
me,
feeling about your
Elaine. So rude, Elaine. I find it interesting, the random details that people will add into a story that is not the truth or the whole truth. You know, I don't even believe that that the poor dog did step on a bee. This is the problem. Now you got me doubting the dog story. And I'm already concerned about those dogs because Lord knows you implicate them in crimes, and then you have the unmitigated gall to body shame Johnny Depp's dog. Sheesh. Amber? Like, come on. Elaine isn't she? She's just so rude, sugar beet. She has. She's lost the plot. Her cheese has slipped off the cracker. And let me just say this. When you put in extraneous details into a story like that, Amber, as an actress, I'm concerned because that tells me that you have zero idea about screenplay. You get to keep it tight, lady. Who's doing an all-nighter? What? Help. I don't know if I can make it any more minutes, you guys. It's too much for your girl.
relationship with Mr. Depp?
May we have the exhibit taken away
Okay,
from,
sure.
thank you.
I, by June, I was so torn. I was so in love with this person because when it was good, it was so good. You've never felt love like that. At least that's how it felt. So much. I felt like he recognized me and I recognized him, and there was just something there that. that was the
Girl,
love of
you
my
full
life.
blown crazy.
And he was. He was, but he was also this other thing. He was also this other thing. And that
Let
other
me
thing
let
was
her have her little
awful
moment right
awful
real quick,
thing
and then
that
we're going to
would
be done.
come out and take over, and it was
This
you couldn't
thing,
see the
she's trying
honey I
so
love
hard not to
underneath
say
it. It was this
monster.
other thing, and no one told him. No one was honest with him. No one, he'd pass out in his own vomit. He'd lose control of his body. He'd lose control, and everyone cleaned up after him. I cleaned up after him. I mean, this man lost control of his bowels, and I cleaned up after him. His security cleaned up after him, changed his pants in front of me. He would pass out in his own sick. And then he'd walk around saying he didn't have a problem. Until he did. Until he couldn't support it anymore, and he'd get clean and he'd get sober, and then he was this thing again. This thing that made me feel so loved, that made me feel like my soulmate. As cheesy as that sounds,
Bruh, I'm done. Okay. Dorit Kensley called and she wants her bobby pins back. Wow. Like, well, I think there's some general signs, Smalls, but I think from what I have learned from the behavior panel that you have to get a baseline of the person first. And since she's an actress and all we have as a frame of reference is her movies, and then the eye rolling and the Fast and Furious ferociously writing on the post-it notes during the forensic psychologist testimony. I don't know what her tells are, but other than I will agree with Christine, the lip biting is something. There's something to that. It is so bad. And yes, Christine, worse than I ever imagined. So bad. So bad. Like, really? Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. The other thing is, I realize, let me play devil's advocate for just 1 second. All right. Let's say that everything that Amber is saying is the truth, that she truly is a victim. All right. When you're with somebody, living with them, you guys, you're in a relationship. You know things about that, intimate things about that other person, right? Because that's what comes with being in a relationship. And I just want to say, I've been with my husband for 27 years. There is no way that I would ever say what she just said about him, no matter how angry I was. I would never do what she just did right now in public, ever. And I feel that she lost points with me there for doing that, because I don't feel that it was I felt like it was done intentionally to be embarrassing and humiliating because it was an unnecessary detail. The fact of the matter is that Johnny Depp has been very open about the fact that he has struggled for a long time, going through different phases where he was sober versus there's a different, I mean, when he had a problem and he didn't, right? Okay. And that's how I'm going to put it, because that's how he described it. So at the end of the day, it wasn't for her to say what she said about him was unnecessary. And she did it, in my opinion, with the sole intent to be cruel and to be humiliating. Because conversely, as she knows Johnny Depp and some secrets and things that he may not want out, right? And I don't know whether he did that or not. I'm just saying, the bottom line, whether he did it or he didn't do it is really irrelevant, because it doesn't matter either way. It was humiliating for her to have said that in front of God and everybody, right? Then, conversely, he knows details about her. We've all done something embarrassing, or, that we would never want the rest of the general pop to know about us in front of our significant others. And I didn't hear him at any time say anything like that about her. And he could have. This wasn't a question the question that was asked had, nobody could have known that that this part of her story was going to come out. You know what I mean? People wait in the audience listening, like us. And I will agree with you, DTC Primetime. I will say this. They definitely had a very, very toxic relationship. Completely, 100%, absolutely. But as far as the physical violence goes, and I'm not talking about inanimate objects. I'm not talking about chunking things. I'm not talking about breaking things or hitting walls or cabinets or doors or any of that other stuff. I'm talking about actually putting your hands on another person. I do not think at this stage in the game that Amber Heard has proven that Johnny Depp put his hands on her. And while I will agree that domestic violence encompasses a great many different things, right? It can be verbal, it can be physical. But let me say this. I've yet to see anybody be charged with domestic violence for yelling horrible things at their partner. And people generally feel that because that's different. There's a difference between domestic abuse and domestic violence. And that's my problem right there. Violence means exactly what it sounds like. Hello, we all know the definition of violence. Domestic abuse is the term for things that are not physical. They're the emotional. And I'm not saying one is greater than the other, or one is worse than the other, or one takes longer to recover from the other. But the bottom line, end of day story is one results in you catching charges and one does not. And that's the difference. And when she wrote that op-ed and said that she was a domestic violence survivor, that has a connotation to it. And at this point, she has not proven, in my opinion, that Johnny Depp was violent, physical. I'm going to look it up, because I've never heard of anybody being charged criminally with the charge of domestic violence or any of the other things that go under that category for words. I'm going to look it up. Oops, I spelled violence wrong. So outraged. All right, let me look. According to health experts at Virginia Commonwealth University's Institute for Women's Health, even though emotional abuse isn't a criminal offense in Virginia, it still hurts. Emotional abuse may be a part of a larger abusive pattern that is indeed against the law. Yeah, Chick, what are you doing? You're on the recovery. What are you over here doing? Packing or whatever. You're supposed to be taking it easy. Don't make me call fetch Jen Aussie girl Jen. I'll snitch you out. And I will agree that I'll snitch you out. Don't make me be a snitch, Chick. I don't like being a snitch. I think you're right. I agree with you that, okay, domestic abuse and domestic violence are complicated situations apart from the legal ramifications. I'm talking like the interpersonal workings of it, right? How it affects people, right? But domestic violence and domestic abuse, as far as the law goes, are very cut and dry. And it's I'm only doing a little. Well, let's I know that I'm going to run into Aussie girl Jen at some point or another. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to rat you out. But what if she watches the replay and I'm going to let her be the decider, the judge of what's a little, if a little is acceptable. Let me see what you guys are saying in here in this chat. No, I'm not coming for, I don't, yeah, you're completely allowed to have your opinion and it's respected. Um, I think what you're saying here is that the old pattern of making the victim actually appear to be the crazy person. Is that what you're talking about? Is that what you're meaning? Because oh, there she is. I'm going to leave it to your good judgment, Aussie girl Jen, if what Chick is doing is acceptable or not. It is a complicated situation. It is, and I'm saying that I do agree that they had a definitely a toxic and tumultuous relationship. Okay, but that's really not what this trial is about. This trial is about, did she lie in that op-ed? Because if she lied in that op-ed, then that's absolutely defamation, right? And I'm curious about that. That's the part we're here to talk about. And can she prove it? And I just, I wanted to give her. Oh, I see. So that what you're saying is that if Amber, or a, let's just not even, let's take Amber out of it. Let's just use a woman. If a woman initiates it and the man retaliates, she is the victim by default because she is physically weaker than a man. Generally speaking, I mean, there are obviously women in the world who can take a man. Know what I'm saying? Like they can match strength. But generally speaking, is that what you mean? Like that? Because I just feel like I don't subscribe to the that's where I'm at too. That's where I'm at too with that. Okay, so that I get you. I get what you're saying. All right. This is my personal opinion. I don't subscribe to the line of thinking that if a woman steps to a man and hits a man, then she should get hit back like a man, as if she was a man, right? My line of thinking is this: nobody should be putting their hands on anybody, period. Okay. And I have 2 sons, and I raise my sons that, as infuriating as it may be and however strong the urge may be, because it is innate in a human being that when you're hit, you want to hit back. I mean, hello, watch toddlers. They do it all the time. That's an innate thing. Nobody taught them that. They just do it. It's reactionary. But I taught my boys that even if she hits you first, you walk away. Call me, I'll hit her back. No, just kidding. I'll not do that. But I'm saying nobody should be hitting anybody, but definitely don't hit back. Now, that's how I raise my boys. And I will say that when it comes to a fight, right, between, in this, like this situation, a husband and a wife, okay, things can escalate, and they can escalate very quickly. And there's a fine line between restraint, trying to get the person from continuing to hit you, and you then becoming a participant in the aggression. Do you know what I mean? So I'm curious. I'm if we're just gonna go based on her testimony alone, right? Up to this point, there is something about her affect on the stand that does not ring true. It does not have the ring of truth to it. Now, I'm not saying that she's 100% lying, but listen, if even one detail is incorrect, or more than one detail is incorrect in a story, intentionally incorrect, intentionally left out, that's lying. If you know what happened and you don't tell exactly what happened, just exactly the way it happened, leaving nothing out and adding nothing, then you've lied. Period. It's lying is not complicated. It's pretty simple. It's an intentional withholding of truth. So either you can lie by omission, or you can lie by addition, or you can lie by saying yes when the answer is no, but a lie is still a lie. And when you're trying to get up on the stand and you want to connect with a jury, and you've got to overcome Johnny Depp's testimony, which frankly ingratiated him to the jury. They laughed a lot at him. They related to him, which is exactly what he needed to do, because I guarantee you, none of those people in that jury box have their own island that they jet off to. So I think that she's got to take accountability and responsibility for her part. And I think the jury needs to hear that from her. Instead of testifying to you can still be a victim and also take accountability for not de-escalating the situation. Not, we're not all built knowing, we all make mistakes, right? And we don't always handle the situation completely perfect or correctly all the time, right? Emotions get involved and your rational brain stops working as well, and you go in with emotion. Okay. And I'm willing to give her I would be even willing to cut her some slack on that. But to get up on the stand and make herself, the way that she talks about it is if he just started knocking her around out of nowhere. Now, listen, he shouldn't have knocked her around at all, period, if he knocked her around. But we very clearly heard those audio tapes. And that's my point. There is a disconnect between what she herself recorded and what she is testifying to. That was a long way around what my whole last point was. So, and I agree that's my problem. That's the whole issue I'm having right now with her testimony at this point. Because you can hear on those audio tapes, he does attempt there. Does he do it every time? No. Does he do it? Should he have ever hollered back at her when she was talking about this throwing cigarettes and he said to her, whatever, fat ass or whatever. Yeah. Something like that. Should he have said that? No, he shouldn't have. So, all right, you guys, I'm going to get off of here for now, but listen, I have to go over this in the morning. There's no way. So what I'm going to do, just like I did, I should have done with his testimony. So I will be live in the morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. That's when court starts, right? And I'll go all the way through to their lunch break. All right. And then I'll come back at 8 o'clock Eastern and recap a little bit from the morning, and then we'll go through the afternoon testimony, because tomorrow is Thursday and it's the last day of court for like a week. And then I think what I'm going to do, do exactly what Teresa suggested and play some of the stuff from the depositions and stuff. So, good night, everybody. Thank you guys so much for being here. Welcome to the new members, and thank you. And thank you for the super chats. I appreciate you guys more than you know, especially because you guys all showed up instead of, not showing up. I missed you all. And yes, I'm highlighting this because pay attention to the screen. Stop what you're doing. Get her, Jen. Good night, you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. You guys have a great rest of your Wednesday night and a wonderful Thursday. If I don't see you in the morning, I'll see you tomorrow night, and have a great day. All right, you guys, behave out there on these YouTube streets. All right. Bye. Good night.